enjoy and interact. And my prayer is that, there's more and more of these interactions because there's always something to learn. There's always peer learning, peer discussions, and then you can go away to your respective organizations and get something started. You must start somewhere. And these interactions, I think, create that best safe space. So good deliberations, good interactions from the advisory council. We'll be right behind you guys, and we hope to keep supporting you. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Colin. Online members, do you have any question for Colin? Maybe Colin, if there's any question. Okay. Or members here, do you have any question for Colin? Raise your hand if you have something you want to share with Colin, and you can scroll.
Not seeing any question.
There's a new. And see if there's a question for Colin.
So far, no.
So far, none. Okay, so to the first discussion and presentation. So it's going to be a mix. Okay.
It's a second.
Tech still being set up. As we fix that, we are here. We want to learn about how do we lead the AI transformation. And with that, I will pose a question to all of us. And this question is going to help us discover our journey in AI. And so far, what have we been doing in our organization? So how do we move from isolated AI pilots to enterprise measurable value? I will repeat. How do we move from isolated AI pilots? I don't want to call it hype, since AI has been proven it is working, so it's no longer a hype. AI pilots to enterprise measurable values. They are keywords, and those words are the ones which we are going to use to reflect, and it forms the basis of this session today, and even what we are going to see when the other presenters who are going to be sharing. So just by a show of hands, and those ones online, you can share with us what goes through your mind the first time you hear and you talk about your AI portfolio. Perhaps, please, guys online, share with us what's that one word that comes into your mind about your current AI portfolio, or what you know about AI. Gentlemen in the room, which is one word you can share about AI that you resonate with? How was AI proved to you? Gilbert?
Yes, thank you. To me, AI has been
one word. Just a word.
Automation.
Automation. Gideon?
Efficiency.
Efficiency. Nesta? Security. Efficiency. AI to you, which one word? Or even your experience can be frustrated and say.
Experience. So yeah, it may not be one word, two words. Think assistance and think assistance.
Assistance.
Convenience.
Convenience. Asa?
Which one? Efficiency and convenience.
Efficiency, convenience. Colin?
Disruption.
Disruption. Online. What do you have for us? Gideon, maybe you can read for us.
Value from Dan.
Value. Value. That's a good one. Which other one? Any other? Online, yes, it's not to see.
I think someone can read them out. Just a second. Let me read. Okay, value handy evolution. Yeah.
Evolution, handy. And we say the list goes on. So the objective is here is we just want to begin opening up and share our experiences. So to some people, AI is promising. You've used calling, there's a word you use, disruption. Disruption. I believe that's part of promising. Disruption is way I like that, yeah. And for some, when you say promising, disruptive, there's been strong demonstration and also business value, which has been seen. To some people, promising means it has the potential, however, you have not yet translated it to a business outcome value. To some, they are stuck, still in the pilot stages, always trying out stuff, nothing moves to production, nothing moves to market. Perhaps different reasons we shall see or we shall share online. We have some of them fragmented, and I think this is one of our biggest problems, not just in our organization, but in the country at large. Fragmentation. If Ocular have done a model that works, why can't we adopt? Why can't we have sharing? Why can't we share this knowledge? Why can't we scale it and have others tapping in? Why does Africa have to build so many fragmented solutions? Even within organizations, different departments. To some people, fragmentation, duplication of tools. Right now, even in your organization, I do believe you have countless tools that different teams are using. In terms of productivity, it is only to be measured, and we shall find out if it is really valuable. Then scaling, and I think that's where we need to begin pushing towards. Value is proven. Value for AI has been proven. You can adopt it. We are going to see 2 use cases today. And for that, what we want from this, and going forward, all other innovators, entrepreneurs in this space, we need to begin pushing for adoption, and then governance will come. I do believe Uganda, Gideon, is it true? Do we have a policy?
Yes, we do.
AI policy?
Yes, we do.
Perhaps we need to be.
It's under evaluation, maybe. That's what I should say. But it's not yet assented to. It's not even presented to Parliament yet. Yeah, but we hope by end of year it's going to. But no exact timeline yet.
Any member here online who has been approached to give their contribution to the policy?
Chair, the forum was approached,
Yes.
and we called.
Perhaps.
Yes, members participated, and I think someone called Alban also participated. Yeah,
that's good. So, so today, most of these sessions we are going to be sharing like this, and one of the questions which we wanted to pose is, what is that one thing at the end of this session you want to change where you are about your AI? So it might be about you want to scale it, want to avoid fragmentation, you want to move from the promising stage to prove a business outcome, or you might need to come out of where you're stuck. So it's a safe space, you can ask, and we'll be able to share. There should be someone who knows something who can help you more. So how do we approach this aspect of how do we move from where we are right now, from pilots, enterprise value, measurable value. So we have divided this session into shifts. And these shifts, I want us to be sharing quick examples for each one of them. So one of the approaches is, let's stop looking at AI as a technology projects, and start looking at them as business outcomes. So we need to align them with the organization needs and not just something which you want to buy. One of the examples which we are sharing there is, you always need to ask yourself this question: what outcome is important for this particular project? And if you start with that question, it will be a good building block for you. So some of the things you'll discover, most of our projects are phrased like this. We want to build a fraud model. If this is the kind of how you phrase your AI projects, it will not be visible to the business and to the decision makers. And it might not be as impactful as you would have wanted it to be. So first thing, ask yourself, what business outcome does it address? And the kind of phrasing it should be objective wise. It should be addressing a particular KPI. So we want to reduce avoidable fraud. You can still build and say, we want to reduce, so you can first by starting, we want to reduce avoidable fraud losses while protecting genuine customers, and then you quantify it. We always need to go measure. And then by building a fraud model. So you end with what you want to do after you have informed the business how it is going to impact. So for the CEOs, normally their language is, you need to, for them, they want to hear which business outcome. They are the ones who said, they are the ones who cascade, they give us the CIOs. And they also apportion all these KPIs to the business, to the different owners. You are one of the owners. CFO has their own portion, and all other people within the organization play their role. What is our role? Most of the time is to agree or accept the baseline. So the baseline might be the target which has been provided. And the next one is to ensure whatever we are doing is measurable, and we continuously show progress and value to it. So at this juncture, in 1 or 2 minutes, I want to open the floor again and ask, how have you been approaching this particular shift? How do you start your AI projects? Maybe 1 or 2 submissions, and then we'll move on to the next one. Lady, how are you? You're welcome. Good. Introduce yourself. Do you have anything you want to share on how do you start your AI projects or any other IT project?
My name is Nakasi. I'm a student from Makerere University. I'm a mental health advocate. I want to design a mental health. And in my AI, as a teacher trainee, I always use it in Canva on how I project my work in classroom, and also in innovation as a mental health advocate, designing the mental health posts, basically. So I want to learn more, understand how can I upgrade the wide basic.
Just a question. So your why in AI, it is to build your knowledge. What else?
And because when we're looking at business outcomes, as an economist, how am I going to do it?
Okay. So you're looking for it to give you a source of livelihood. Is that how you're looking at it? So fair enough, that's a personal outcome. So at least she knows where she wants to start her journey in this AI. So she's using AI to empower her, but also to make her earn a living. And I think that's a good start. Do we have someone online who wants to share with you? Can open the mic for one person, or you can read the comment.
Yes, I'm waiting for comments. Also, I'm waiting for anyone to raise up their hand.
About how, Nesta, just a quick one, sorry to put you on spot. How do you start your projects, AI projects journey?
Thank you. I think for me, like you said, it's first of all to understand the why, so the direction of the organization. What are going to, what does it better look like, and how does the maturity of the business of the organization. You have to first also understand what's the bigger picture, what's the end game, why do we want happening, and from that then now the process, the journey. The first one is kind of the life.
Thank you
so much.
Yeah. And I do believe that was a simple question to Nesta, because he's the actual CEO. So everything always has to fit in.
Yeah, I have two
not
people
the
online.
vision. You have
One is
someone
called
Yeah.
Maya and Michael. Maya and Michael, you're free to speak, but we will not hear you well. But yeah, feel free. I think we shall hear you.
Nesta,
Okay, thank you.
Yes.
Maria here. Sorry, there is a typo in my name as I was logging on, but it's Maria. I work with the
Okay, Maria.
National Council for Higher Education. We at National Council, we are charged with the regulation of higher education, but we are trying to build models to support the monitoring of higher education institutions in terms of teaching hours, admissions, and all other processes. But that aside, we are still at the, I would say, at the starter stages, because we also have to move a policy that will impact in the higher education subsector. So the policy at that, it's at approval level, and we can, I would say that the other models are just in pilot stage, because we can't implement without a fully approved policy. Yeah, so that is where we are, but it's supporting our functions of monitoring and also admissions. Much as we are not charged with admissions, institutions do it independently, but we, at the end of that day, evaluate what they do. Thank you, Chairperson and members.
Thank you.
And Michael.
Miriam.
Maria, and then also Michael has a submission.
Okay.
Michael?
Yes, thank you for the opportunity. Paul Michael. I did computer engineering. So the way I apply AI is to help businesses to get notified and recognized in a way that I've been able to build agents and train them in a way of, I may be a single engineer or a programmer, but I use AI to work as a team, assigning different agents, different roles and all that. So this has helped me, despite the knowledge that I have right now as an engineer, it has helped me also like scale up quickly and reduce the time frame of how systems are produced so that we can get businesses up and running as quickly as possible. So I feel like with AI, it helps you enhance the movement or the speed and influence you can do in other jobs and share with other people. So that's how I would apply. That's how I applied AI, and been also using it to produce first-class systems or high-class systems of government entities and all that. So yes, that's what I've been up to right now in my training sessions.
What's his name? Michael.
Michael.
We've heard from Mariam and Michael. Use case for them, what's their why? One of them is for monitoring, and that's one of their major KPI. And for Michael, it is about productivity. Uses AI to produce things faster Let's go to the next slide. We're going to go to the next sheet. We'll still have more opportunities to share. So we have looked about business outcome. That should be your first step. The second shift is build a capability enterprise mindset, not another pilot. You've seen this disconnected system, silos. So we need to move from isolated solutions to enterprise capability. And this is a disease which is everywhere. Someone has already done it, but we still want to prove upon it. Sometimes it is valid anyway. In certain cases, I do believe you might want to own your own as a business. You don't want to rely on someone's solution. But the essence here is even within the same organizations where they are not really competing, you still find the same happening. So here, we need to begin shifting and talk, because pilot should help you make a decision. Why do we do pilots? Because pilot should be able to showcase something's capability. And then from there, as ExCo, as leaders, make a decision. Do you want to scale? That is to improve. Do you want to stop? And so forth. Whatever decision you're going to make. So that should be the essence of a pilot. Now, this is the example. In the same organization, the HR department starts their chatbot solution or procures one, which does quite well, but the internal team builds one, does well, and goes live. Staff are happy, it's able to solve their queries. So that is about information sharing and making things work faster. Speed. Business value there is speed. Then before you know, another team needs it. IT needs it, a similar solution for their help desk. You want your users to be empowered on how they can be able to troubleshoot their own IT problems. So why do we have to go and start a new project? Why can't we go and interact with the team which did that successful project and see how best we can scale? So within an organization, you might not need to compete. So what we need to think is take the two hats. And here we are just comparing the two people. When I mean CEO, I mean the business people. So normally their role is to fund a portfolio. They are the sponsors. We are the implementers. So use that shared capability and use it to create a sustainable. That is their wish. When they fund you, they want you to create something which is sustainable and will give the business a competitive advantage. Our role is to ensure that we create solutions which are reusable, which can be plugged into another use case by building standards and empowering the users. And then I open up the floor with a question. So to you, what decision is leading in pilot design? So after each pilot, what decision have you been using? What decision have you been taking? You can share one simple example in a minute or less that you've been using as an outcome of your pilot. Anyone here before we go online? Just one and then move to the next one. And online. You want to share something? Then. Okay, online. Gideon, do you have any question or any person who wants to share? It is on this particular shift. How do you move from the silos mentality, but also what decisions do you make after you've reached that pilot? You have seen my solution can actually work. You have done the demo to the business team and they are happy. After that, what happens?
Anyone online?
Or who has made a decision after any pilot to stop? Because normally this, we either go to the next stage, which is scale or improve, but who has more to stopping a project which they felt it is not viable or it was not received well by the business? Anyone? And share? You have none.
No one.
So everything that passes through the pilot goes to production, never abandoned, never fails.
Maria Nakacha has raised up her hand.
Please,
Maria?
Chair,
Maria.
thank you once again. My experience with the rolling out post the pilot is that the policy is moving slower than the AI tools. You see, AI is evolving so fast and policy formulation is moving at a slower pace. So implementing it or scaling it is subject to policy approvals. So I think we should have a mechanism where we expedite the approval policies so that the scaling is implementable, because at the end of the day, people can take you on for implementing a certain something, especially as the regulators from the regulatory perspective. So scaling sometimes requires an approved policy in place. That is our experience. But also the idea of working in silos, I think, needs much more sensitization that this is where the world is moving. Some people think this is their project. It can't, they want to maybe just sell it or something like that. But people need to be more sensitized that this is where the world is moving. Whether you keep your project or not, an alternative will come on table. Thank you, Chairperson and members. I submit.
Thank you, Maria. Just me reading the comments online. We have from Henry Gesu. That is after the feasibility study. We can actually take pilot as feasibility study. That's okay. Decisions can be taken based on that result, either to move on or to stop. Susan Lunkuse from URA. We have a chatbot in our customer taxpayer touchpoint application, but is also internally, I see separate chatbots being built in application. So there seems to be no policy on what decision is driving design. We need to step back and rethink this one so that we remove the silos. Very much agreed, and that's the concept. We need to think enterprise, and I think we all agree on that. The day you run a business and you see these inefficiencies, it will not be something we want to continue. Some of us, you might just be in that comfortable stage because you want to. I understand as taking looks exciting to do things, but let's begin thinking as in terms of ROIs. Do we really need to do another one? We might not need to. Can we scale it cheaply, faster? That can be the discussion. So Maria, just to share, we have another slide which will be talking about what you've just mentioned. So let's just hold that one and let's move to the next. So far we have seen two outcomes or two things we need to be thinking through before we start our AI as we move. So the first one, business outcome. The second one, enterprise mindset. That's a thing. And the third one is data. You cannot talk about AI without talking about data. So prepare data decisions. We need to move from, or we need to look at beyond, we need to look beyond just more data to ready data. And we're going to define what is ready data. That is data that is trusted and sufficient to make a decision. You have all the facts. You have asked all the why do you do this, why do you do this? And you have all the information. So an example, So before employing, this is one of my internal example of NSSF. You have your own and you will share, please. Now, before employing an AI to start a contribution areas follow-up, we had an example of a gentleman who was saying they build those kind of solutions to be able to disseminate information. But now for us, this is about tracking who is behind their schedule. And we have a campaign. So what do we need to begin doing to make decisions, okay, before this campaign can start and using tech to drive it? So one is who should contribute. And you are defining the stakeholder. So who are we targeting? It might be a smaller case. It might be just looking at certain employers, either from a particular region, from a particular industry. The second one, know who has paid. Do you have that information? Do you have your ledgers of showing who has paid? So always make sure your data is current. Okay, and trusted. Where are you getting the information? The third one is who has not paid. Are you able to find or compare and find out who is not compliant or who is, because let's not turn to compliance, who has not paid? If you're able to know those three questions, then the last one is who should be contacted? Who do you want to contact? Perhaps you want to contact both with different messages, different objective. So for the first one who has paid, you might want to thank them, encourage them. For those who haven't, you might want to either send a reminder or you might want to go to the next stage. So what's the mindset behind this? So the business itself is the one which generates the data. You are an enabler. So what is your role? You need to give the business or use the information and ensure that information, you have all of it for us to make a decision. When you go to do your presentation, don't just show us your nice charts, graphs, like that. What we want to hear is how did you arrive? Like all this, what do they translate or what do you want us to do? And that's a decision we want to be making. So any example on the floor?
Chair, we have
Online?
someone, I don't know,
can
did you
read
read
for-
Daniel's point of after pilot?
After pilot, okay, guys, after pilot, I think most times we need to improve before scaling. That one is true.
Then there's another one
Execution.
from Biro Innocent.
Yeah. So Innocent shares, before we start implementation of AI, we need to push to have AI policy to guide and govern AI. I'm going to speak when should the policy come, and there is an example of my organization on how we did it. And we might use that, but also to learn from yours and maybe debate on when should the policy or the governance start. And it's part of the slide. So just hold on, Innocent. And Maria also mentioned the same. Do we have any person who wants to share about this particular slide? Let's have one contribution in the room. I don't want to put names for people. Anything? Or do you have any approach in which you use, even when someone brings to you, we want to buy a solution? Do we have a criteria which we follow? What kind of questions do you ask before you make a decision? I think those are things, and we want to make it part of how we work. How we make decisions shouldn't always be out of intuition, shouldn't just be out of what you have heard, but you'll ask yourself certain things before you make this particular move, that you have all the facts, and that one just speaks about that. The next slide, Gideon, perhaps the next one, I've had people talking about, okay. So One, now we need to look at the fallacy of job cuts and AI will replace people. Why am I calling it a fallacy? Up to now, AI has not done all the doomsday that people predicted. Apart from a little bit of them showing us it can really do some serious unethical stuff. Anyway, it doesn't have any side. It is whoever is using it. But either way, the point here is we need to stop being paranoid and understand this technology. There was a time where the trending thing was the internet, and it came with a lot of stories which were not factual. So one, there's always been a talk about replacing people. I doubt that should not be the selling point for any CIO. Should not be the selling point for any organization. You do not want to take livelihoods from people. So I'm just looking at it also from the human aspect. Of what value is it to automate everything in this world and have machines? Are they the ones going to use those services? If they are going to pay, fair enough. But what do we do with ourselves? Are we going to die and be hungry? No. For now, you think of yourself in that organization, you're also replaceable. Even if you own that business, you're replaceable. So think about human first. Why? We need to help people decide better. By this, it just means preparing, give people all the information and tell them how they can improve themselves. Perhaps things have been shifting even before. So what does this mean? We have to give AI a purpose. Currently, it is helping you. We've had the gentleman talking about how they use it in the organization to build more solutions faster. It is very good in recognizing patterns. You mentioned gentleman here in the morning. He just mentioned it, was it not Phil, but the guy behind there, that they use it to train. They train AI. So it's very good in patterns. And still, if I was an auditor, and actually the gap between what we used to, what auditors used to, where they used to take a lot of time comparing and finding all those, we call them patterns or anything which is not proper, a lot of time. So it's called exceptions. Exceptions. So for now, I will ask you for samples. I can even run through the entire data set against your policy, and I can tell it to check for me these patterns. How many payments were made without the right documents? How many payments reached a particular stage without them going through all this? What are those patterns you can see that it will have taken me forever, or a genius, or these few people who had that kind of mind, whatever? It's able to be way faster, way better. You can have your audit reports right now within a few hours. Work which used to take weeks, months, perhaps, and you're not even running a small sample. You're actually running the entire ERP, the entire data set for that financial year. So, and scaling. So, you can have to me back to the slide.
Sorry.
Okay. And so what we want, so this is an example. I think we can read it for ourselves. So let's look at about. But at the end of the day, we just want to work to collaborate with the technology. We make it be able to help us make decisions. At the end of the day, what we are still struggling, what we still need to do is have human beings handle the exceptions, make the decision, and take accountability. Unless you are going soon to have AI do everything, then let it also, if anything goes wrong, let it also compensate, go to court, and even serve prison time if it is what we want to achieve. But you can see at the end of the day, we just want to have inclusion and really empower people. If you're in the HR space, your role is not just to fire. Empower people, tell them there is this tech, it's doing this. These are the opportunities the organization is adding or has seen. There'll always be something new. When we just started the story of digitization, we moved from paper. Paper was actually cheaper than computers. Although how many trees will we still be cutting? But now you needed power. You needed to buy computers. Yeah. You needed to service those computers. You needed the network. You needed all this just for one item to disappear, the paper. It brought 10, 100 folds more opportunity. So perhaps we do not know the new opportunities that are there or that are coming, but what we need to do is stop living in fear and begin just preparing. As yours, you see it is going to go away. Begin thinking of the next best thing. HR and people, CIOs also, prepare your teams. Tell them there is much more opportunity. Perhaps you move into cyber. I still have a need in cyber security. I need maybe a prompt engineer. I need a quality analyst. I need this kind of, and so forth role. Let's open the floor again. I want to hear any scenario here that you can learn from. What are the myths you have heard about AI, especially in this space of human replacing human beings? Introduce yourself and share. What's that thing you've heard about AI and how it's going to take our jobs? And soon we're going to do both homeless, jobless, and as we done. Hopefully you'll feel in terms of your negative. Anything you want to share with that? Me? Oh, yeah, thank you. Any other person? Yeah. Share. So if you are making a very doing a big data analysis, like if I told you doing a lot with data analysis, data sets. So right now the AI knowledge out there, they can actually synthesize this data and they can analyze it and do a report. Let's begin that the human can do like 1 hour or 2. The AI will produce within seconds. No, right? So that actually huge data names down huge data sets of various data to tell you okay, this data needs to be corrected, this can be needs to be eliminated, what the human can do. So we find that the human there would be because now the person would be either to this tool or to actually if I told the indicator that the thing human made they say $1,000 and the tool is costing $100, the company will obviously don't have to keep on that's eliminating the whole. So what are you doing now? You are to ensure that for the jobs you are replacing, you are eliminating, you are replacing and giving back something. So the AI cannot be 100%. Of course, at some point there will be a human because data can get covered. So where I would maybe deploy a human to be there is that the human will come in with you at the end. You have eliminated 100 people. How many are you replacing? With the tool or it is about you.
Chair, someone, Susan Lunkuse has raised up her hand.
Okay, let's have someone online. Thank you so much for sharing. We are talking about the human aspect with AI. We are taking jobs. We are taking people's livelihood. How do we replace? What do we give back? Or we are just happy as techies?
Yes, Susan.
Contributing to this. Perhaps maybe let's listen to Susan. Yeah.
Working. Hello?
Yes, Susan. please.
Oh, thank you. Sorry, I had a problem with my microphone. So I just wanted to say that, yes, we have had what you're calling a fallacy about AI replacing people. I believe there is a truth to this to some extent, because a couple of years ago, I think 1 or 2 years ago, we had that actually AI replaced a lawyer in the UK, and it argued a case. I mean, there was a policy that I think was allowed in the UK for someone to be represented by AI and not a physical person. And also we've had jobs like maybe finance, routine jobs that AI can actually can do your accounts and do them very well. So yes, there's that fear. I'm saying that to some extent, I think it is real because we are seeing these things coming up. But also, I think AI on its own cannot stand. It needs to be validated. Actually, if you look at some, maybe like ChatGPT, it does put a disclaimer that ChatGPT can make mistakes. So that means that a human element is needed to validate the responses and whatever it is that it is giving you. So in the IT space as well, I think we just need to be careful, but also in all other forms of employment, I think people need to just make sure that they can use AI to improve, to do, to get the speed, to be able to scale things that used to take so long to do, that you can do them in a very short time and add value. I think that's where we need to be going and showing people that that's what they need to do. So there needs to be a lot of awareness for the different industries. What is it that they can do to use AI to keep up the pace? Thank you.
Thank you, Susan. I think she summarized it brilliantly. So it is true. It's not really a fallacy. Yes, jobs are lost. Anytime there's something new.
Yeah.
When they introduced cars, horses a little bit disappeared. Right now we don't ride horses anymore.
Chair, we have done with saying that I agree with you, AI will not replace human beings, but it will or has reduced jobs. It's called done.
Okay.
Maybe where you need 10 workers, you need 2 workers and AI. Then Sylvia Chiwanuka, please put your name and where you work. She says that the perception that AI saves time is risky. The risk is that people may trust AI-generated content without verification. Also, skills may deteriorate if staff rely too heavily on AI. We need to strike a balance. We do not have to resist it, but its use should be governed well. Avoda Agency says that AI thrives on direction. The better you're directing it, the more productive you become. AI replaces people when you've not mastered directing it. That's his point. Yes.
Yeah. So guys, all views are valid. Just to save some time and move to the next one, what I can share is any job, anything that you do which is repetitive, just like what happened in the industrialization era, and when we mechanize stuff, what you see in the factories will definitely, if easily, will be replaced by AI. Perhaps there will be other factors why AI might not work in other areas because of maybe costs. It might, because you find fair enough, we have to factor in some people, like in some spaces, repetitive jobs are paid low wages. So also bringing in AI might not be productive, but that's another definition of looking at it. But let's all be honest, anybody can be replaceable. What people are using, like the lawyers, the doctors, have ring-fenced their professions. You guys haven't done yours. So it can do all your work, IT administration and so forth, can manage your entire data center. Whereas for doctors, they say, yes, you can rely on AI to help you make better decisions, analyze and so forth, x-rays, scans and so forth. But it is still the doctor who takes the responsibility, even in court. which part of Uganda will you have a robot standing there and waiting? Perhaps in future, but for now, for them it is human beings. But they do use AI to analyze and create, let's say, their case, how they want to run their case if it is a lawyer, to analyze a particular scenario and so forth. So Gina, let's go to the next one, which has been like, there was Mariam, the other gentleman who also talked about
Michael.
and it's a very good discussion normally at this particular level of the executives. It's about governance. It's about policy. So when should it come in? Should it come at the beginning, at the end, or should it be part of the process? I want to hear from you. So, but yes,
just a quick comment.
Yes.
Of course, for me in my sector, which is cybersecurity, definitely with the introduction of AI, we've had cut down numbers, and we are getting more efficiency in that. But ownership of risk stays paramount, and that is where the few who are still there have to stay relevant. But it creates an opportunity as well for people who are in knowledge creation and data creation, because AI cannot work independent of data and knowledge. The quality and efficiencies that are coming with AI are also heavily dependent on knowledge creators. So for now, and that's where CIO and CxO we come in, we now to push more people down to the layer of knowledge creation. I don't know if I'm very clear. We need more researchers who are creating new knowledge so that these AI models are able to return quality output that is informative, that is also adds value to the processes where we are deploying them. So for me, that is what I'm seeing.
Okay, thank you for your contribution. So back from Martha, their jobs are going on one side. I think I understand. I've seen actually in our scenario, those days when I started my career, cyber wasn't a big thing, cybersecurity. We used to develop an application deploy out there. The only thing we had in organization was just a firewall. So it was the basic firewall and an antivirus on the machine. Right now, there is data loss prevention, DLP solution installed on the machine. You have firewalls, you have NAC. I don't know how many solutions you guys have. We have millions and millions. Now, look at all of this as Azure, the knowledge. We talked about the knowledge industry. Actually, people are catching up. They are really catching money out of all this, even in AI. Each and every day, when you hear there's something new, you hear there's a vulnerability. Now there's someone out there who is now creating another opportunity. Soon, some of us are already using their AI firewalls. They are prompts, how do you call it? They are tools that even check our prompts. Like mine, if I try to prompt anything, it's called Microsoft View or the others also. It's actually blocking me if I ended up typing or try to share organization information. I can't even download my WhatsApp pics and documents from my company laptop. It's already blocked. I can chat with you, I can't upload anything on my phone because it's another phone. If you send me a Teams, or I transfer anything here on Teams, and I try to download, I put it on the phone, it will reject download. It only wants to download it on within like the 365 environment or whatever cloud environment to use. So things are actually like that. There's zero trust. Now look at all those opportunities that can go on the opportunities in some of the organizations used to be the individual system administrator who was also the network administrator. There was no cybersecurity expert. We were not doing scans and so forth for our application. Yeah, which are the role for IT and support. Those are the three major roles. Then came developers and so forth, and now it was grown. We have analysts, testers, and so forth. So many things have come. So as we keep on moving, or the best thing you can always do as a human being is to move with the change, adapt. If you hold your ground where you are, definitely you'll be stopped by the tide. But let's go back to
why I talked about knowledge, because one of the things that we forecast is going to happen is when we do not encourage knowledge creation, we are going to reach a point where we are restricting, owners of knowledge are restricting access to this knowledge away from the models. So what happens, we just going to run with limited knowledge, and the efficiencies that we are now looking out for with AI are going to stop. So actually, because last week I was seeing a guy, a court ruling where someone used someone's tweet, someone's ex-post, yes, and infringe their copyright. In a way, 1, 2, 2, 3 things. That is going to happen a lot. We are going to create our publications, we are going to create our code, and we shall restrict access from AI models. So what is going to happen? It's going to be self-defeating. So we shouldn't worry. What we need to do is to define our priorities as at a national level, at the organization level, to refocus and redirect our resources more into knowledge creation, other than worry on reduction of jobs and replacement of humans by the AI technologies and other emerging technologies. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
So there, Mohozi Tracy says, when it comes to AI versus humans, I feel like organizations that will benefit most are the ones that redesign work. So AI handles repetitive analysis while people provide judgment, ethics, and accountability. At the same time, investing in AI without investing in workforce skills creates a gap. Human capability and AI capability should grow together if we want sustainable enterprise value. Thank you.
Thank you so much. So members will only have 10 minutes, not more than that. So allow me by the views on the interaction. Go back to the governance. Anyone who wants to share? So there's been a discussion about when should we begin the governance and policy. We'll talk about that in another scenario. But either way, where do we want? We want to come from governance being looked as control. Even policy should not be looked as control, but as an enabler. How we draft these guidelines should always not be restrictive, and it should just provide confidence. What are we asking? We want solutions which we can trust. That whatever information they give us, that we are making decisions which are coming from the right place. They are not biased. So how do we start? Where we're coming from is we need to set up clear ownership, define our risk appetites or risk levels, track them, log these incidents and the risk. Anyone who does risk as a profession knows this quite well. So as we are doing things, we need to have that mindset for thinking about risk. What can go wrong? And if it goes wrong, what can you do? Mitigation measures. Come up with it. Don't just focus on, I'm scared, I am going to avoid. Avoidance is also one way of managing risk, but sometimes you might need to see which other one. Then escalation paths allow good use cases to move faster. So I let it, now I'm opening up this in one sector. Let's move to the next slide. This was a summary of what we have discussed. So let's shift from deck to the business outcomes, from pilots to enterprise capability. Let's not hold or keep staying in that loop of just showcasing, nothing moves. Hackathons, Gideon, hackathons that do not make it to market. We need to see how best to help scale this. More data, we need to be ready data, trusted. Move the language from replacing people. It is happening, fair enough, but how do we help them? And from control to confidence to scale. But the next one, it still talks, so these are some of the statistics. It just said most organizations, in fact, are using AI in one of their functions, even if it is at the lowest basic level, which most of us feel. Yeah, you are either interacting with it at the chat. But and on your time, okay, move those particular initiatives to production, at least even see the light of day. And we're not talking about the ones which are going to fail in production. We're just talking about even making that leap of faith to the next level. So this can be found in McKinsey, the state of AI that was published in 2025. So to us, the challenge is not adoption, but it is actually the mindset, the return on investment. And that's why after some time, most people abandon. But there also may be other reasons why they never move to enterprise. So next slide. So this still speaks to governance, and from here I will open the floor again. So this was the approach we used for us. The fund has a 10-year strategy. We completed the first one, started in 2015, ended in 2025 with the four goals. That time it was 20 trillion growth by 20 asset size, 1 day TAT of benefits PayU members, and 95% customer and member and staff satisfaction. By 2024, what I can notably share in all those in customer and staff, we were between 88 or between 80s to early 90s, like 91. And we have different ways in which those are measured. When it came to growing the asset size, by 2024, January, we had already hit 20 trillion. By 2025, July, it was already 26 trillion. Target, which was set from 2025, that was last year. We have just completed 1 year. It was 50 trillion. To move from 20 or 26 to 50 trillion in 10 years. But few months down the line, we did another strategy, and we shifted that immediately to 80 trillion. Why? We're already 40 as we speak. So we can't work, we just keep on shifting. So we have already a planning. So there's a strategy. So there's organization, then departments, as you keep on, and then, so there's the main strategy, 10-year one. I know 10 years is not also the best way, most things also change. However, our business is a little different intervals. It's not like in your space. Our business is to ensure that there is safety when you reach that age. So what can you do? So for us, we can talk about growing. Why? There are many people being born. There are many people now joining the workforce. Can we create more opportunities and so forth? So that's where we have even now grown our membership to 50% of working independents, but they are not in public sector already contributing. They are actually out there on the private sector who are not really very keen on this. So we are trying now to reach them. We are moving towards that. So there's a strategy, then we build from the strategy to those yearly strategies. There's a long term and the short one. And then with that, we keep on understanding or seeing the opportunities. So with that, we build, we pick those particular APIs and we begin building on them and say, for this specific one, if it is about conversion and that is increasing the asset size and the membership, we can actually use AI, and we have done it actually. I'll just mention it. I won't have any slide on that. So we can actually have AI rather than adding more people doing, making calls, doing cold calls and talking to people and so forth, and reminding and checking compliance, doing audits. Audits, it's one of the things. We can actually build this. With regular audits, we're able to find out if not just paying, that you're actually paying the right amount by comparing data from URA and other sources. So please don't cheat. We're able to find out this soon. We will see results and we don't want to be penalized. But the aspect, the point is we align our solution with a business outcome, which is improve compliance, grow the asset size, but also find out how many people who are contributing in the other scheme, like you are not in our scheme. Why are they? And yet ours is mandatory for all. We don't have threshold that if you are within this particular salary band, you don't contribute. No, you are supposed to. So the next thing now came, innovation led the way. Now there's some learning here and there. Some legal person is challenging you, who gave you the right to access this information? Why are you using the machine to make this decision? Who takes accountability? Who is supposed to apply penalty? Who really verifies all this? So that's where now for us, we started doing the governance. And it actually came from an audit report through the board. Audit reports, they address the board. And then from there, we picked it up and started working on last year. That is, when I talk of last year, financial year between July, somewhere within this calendar year, finally got our policy approved. We still, our basic policy is still evolving, so we're learning this AI, but it just talks about basic things. It should be, these are the parameters and what are the responsibilities as we are using the tech and so forth. Then we got the approvals and we got also our strategy. So as the fund, we now have a 5-year strategy. And the strategy talks about so many other things. Is there sufficient budget? So this is what we want to do as the team which we work on this technology. So we're asking the board, we need this kind of funding. These are the areas where we believe we can support you and so forth. So that one was already approved. And what we are now doing is implementation. And that's why we're trying to close in the time. So anyone wants to share? So that was our story of the governance space. And maybe Maria online, you can share with us on your side. You mentioned for you want policy to come first. I don't know what other sentiments we have about this, but also I know we have doctor in the house. Someone can speak about where is the best place to have the policy or the governance. But me, I'm looking at not just policy. There is the policy writing, and there's the day-to-day working with the audit and the risk function. For us, it's part of our work ethics. So as you do this, you need to ensure that you have them so that they discover these things on time, and you see how best you take you move forward. So anyone wants to share something quickly? Move to the next one. You have 2 more sentiments. Okay, the next slide. This is just the mindset we need to have. Always think like these particular executives, the CEO mindset, the CEO for the directors. Normally, what do they think? KPIs like productivity, avoiding risk, trust, and all that. Those ones. And questions which you can always ask. You, when you go back, where are we now? Who owns the outcome? What behavior moves it? What will we decide? When will we stop? Sometimes everything, all projects, and the definition of any project is temporary. You need to understand, even all the initiatives sometimes come to an end, and you either need to redo them or start something afresh. So no baseline. If there is no KPI, no business outcome, no owner, no decision date, they don't invest money. That's the thinking. To the next one. So where should Africa, Uganda focus? Where are the opportunities? I'll just run through. Uganda at large, Africa, we can't ignore. There's a lot of opportunities, okay? How we are also doing. Perhaps also we can start. The real thing is, should we be having all this application? That's a story for another day, but also how we handle our entire value chain for agriculture from the time when we were even thinking of to become a farmer, you have all the knowledge to handle that kind of, I'll call it a career or a path. You have the markets and so forth, up to the time when you these things are being consumed or any value addition. So access to markets is also a big thing. Still opportunities which you can use to employ AI. All this you will see mostly they're still in the knowledge industry. The health sector, I think I had an example just tomorrow. It was about what you're going to see here today. I'm saying, can we make this technology very close to us and it becomes part of our lives the way we have before the phone? And that's the healthcare. Government services, we already have one. I've seen UG agent by one of my good friend, and others I know. But we also need to mind the silos mentality, and that's where NITA or the ministry of ICT. We need help in ensuring that we have a one-stop center. Other countries have done it. Why not Uganda? And this is a challenge anyway. We need to have a specific portal and where we can not just ask. Currently, I've seen they are mostly about asking questions. We want service delivery from there. Why would I need to go to multiple sites, get URL, SSL, CIO, and all of that? And I do it in one place when I'm doing manifestation. And some of these are not even AI guys. They are just integrations, systems talking to each other, having good processes which are, or let's say systems which are interconnected. Education to me is the biggest opportunity. Your time might have passed, guys, but not for our kids, not for those young people. They have the time right now. The world has almost enabled things. The only thing which they might miss is the practical aspect, which we don't really, perhaps you might not be having that skill, but the few who are there can be able maybe to help us guide. But at least in terms of knowledge, theoretical aspect, we can close these areas which are hard to reach, standardization of curriculum and how it is presented. I find learning sometimes online quite enjoyable. Then perhaps I even do convenient to the next one. So as Uganda, we need to choose where do we want to focus. And the move as one, not everybody is trying to shoot in different direction. Now we can skip that. I've already talked about that. So normally we want to give references. So I find this book and I borrow from it within my organization. We are all senior managers, and that's when we are supposed to read and understand the concepts. And we can borrow some learnings from there. So it's called four disciplines of execution, and it just means we need to move away from wild winds or win-wins, okay, from swallowing our transformation. So what do we do? The first thing we can always do is focus, define one widely important goal. Or goals, they shouldn't be many, they should be few, where you can actually focus and give priority. Second one, always act on lead measures. Lead measures are the things that you see immediately. When you are doing something, I'll take a simple example. I want to lose weight, okay? If that's my KPI, or I want to be fit and lose 10 kilos by December. So I can say my lead measure is going to the gym, eating healthy, like avoiding, minimizing my carb intake or following a particular diet plan. Then always look at the lab. But that's because that's where the CEO, when you go to those meetings as a CIO, you are expected to talk about where are we on the main bigger picture, not your lead. So this one is to keep your team, okay, on the execution base. And that is where we fail. If you look at moving from pilots or moving from something which you're just giving, just talking about something working, it's always about having that discipline of execution, by always looking at those information. Engage your team. And there are so many frameworks here which you can use. In software development, people use Scrum. Perhaps that's what I know. But the others just means being working, break down your problems or what you want to achieve, and then work iteratively and keep on checking progress and so forth, sprints, whatever. Then keep a compelling scorecard. This is measure the progress. Then the other one is have the culture of accountability patterns. So when you focus on you said you want to do something, make sure you do it. But also it also comes back to the same thing. The decisions that you make has to be with the owner. To the last slide, recommending basic books. So one is good to great. I'm going to do presenting this in 2 weeks' time in organization, so I need to do some good reading. What lessons can we do as CIOs, especially on today? It's not even about AI. The first thing is we need to have the discipline and thought. We need to think, how do you make that leap, okay, from what you are currently doing? Where are you supposed to be? So it's just that mindset which we want to get from this. And most of those examples we've been looking at, skip for that. Then good bad strategy. So this is just to help you understand, appraise different opportunities, different projects. Then 4 disciplines of execution, we have seen that it's the core of everyday execution, and it brings accountability, crossing the person. So it is just about bridging the gap, especially where you have different priorities, different mindset and whatever. How do you bring people? So this is more about the psychology. The lean startup is always about taking you, or this is about productivity and giving evidence on time. So just think about how you spread your work, you break it down, and then you begin showcasing and putting it out there in small cases for people to test, see, and you keep on iterating. So measure what matters. I think it's the essence when we started, we say, no business outcome, don't even start. It's just another white elephant, it's just another red project. So at this juncture, allow me to end here. I know it ends with a question. If you can just put that, and I'll skip that one, I think we have talked about. So move one priority from intent to evidence. That's my call to you. 1, choose where you want, what you want to do, should be aligned. Do your stakeholder mapping, quite important. Don't forget that. Understand who's the owner, define your baselines, KPIs, and do all those assumptions and so forth. Model it if it works not, or this and that. Then the pilot stage, do something, present decisions to be made, whether you're going to improve, pivot, and stop. Thank you so much. Perhaps I request we can now have questions directed to the next presenters, because I've taken most of the time. And I thank you for joining for this roundtable today morning. And over to Nesta, or is Doctor, who is coming next? You want to do next, but you will do faster. Or Doctor, you want to come next?
Who is organizing this?
We have the moderator.
Program today.
Who is the next? Doctor. Okay, you're welcome, Doctor. Rose, you're welcome. It's there. As long as you do that here. I can help you. It's okay. It, yeah. Let me see. I need help.
Sent it.
They sent it?
Yeah.
Yes.
She sent it to the community to check the
You come. I'm struggling from my machine. Yeah, meanwhile, you can be introducing yourself. Yeah, if you want, so it's okay.
Thank you very much. I think I need to stand here. My name is Rose Nakasi. I'm a lecturer at the College of Computing and Information Sciences, that is at Makerere University. I'm also part of the Ministry of ICT National AI Task Force. But I also lead a team from the Makerere Artificial Intelligence Lab, and I'm happy to be here with my colleagues, Aloysius and Elijah. Thank you. So my talk this morning is to speak about the work that we're doing at the Makerere Artificial Intelligence Lab, and then we shall have a short demo about that work. So I'll use the time presenting, and then the interactions will be. So as they are setting up, I want to talk about what the Makerere AI Health Lab is. We are a team of researchers, and our interest is in harnessing the capabilities of artificial intelligence in healthcare, also in our context.
Okay, let's just search here. Come here. Well, you sent them slides?
Yeah, let me see that, please. Is that
HDMI.
HDMI? I just like this.
Ah.
Oops. Online.
But it's okay, you proceed. We'll find the other. How they manage this.
Who is the owner of the laptop? This one?
Get you on. Yeah.
And I actually sent to you.
Via WhatsApp?
Yeah.
Mhm.
This WhatsApp is also. Please on the Google Slides.
Let me call them. So yes.
They're putting to so many times.
Guys, that's what they said. Let's have a working breakfast. It's so yes, I'm not looking for the bar.
Yeah.
But let's focus on that. Yeah, let's not all of us out only 4 at a time. You see the line. And then you start your team. Welcome to them.
Thank you. So I'll present about our work on ocular, that is improving microscopy. This is a diagnosis in the source limited settings. And I'll first give you an overview of who we are. Our goal is to address some of the pressing health challenges. And this we are doing by leveraging cutting-edge technologies such as artificial intelligence. And we do this through an interdisciplinary collaboration with healthcare or health systems to revolutionize healthcare delivery. And our intent is, at the end of the day, we should be able to support better patient outcomes and making the overall difference in lives. Our lab is at Makerere University at the College of Computing and Information Sciences, and we collaboratively work with the College of Health Sciences and the School of Public Health. So, before I delve into ocular, I wanted to give an overview of what are the different use cases in healthcare. And we're not going to just look at artificial intelligence only in disease diagnosis, but I think where artificial intelligence has come to, we are looking at it in so many different environments. How we train, how we do research in healthcare, how we're thinking about the treatment. These days, people are using artificial intelligence to support personalized medication. We are also looking at utilizing artificial intelligence in making decisions or supporting decision making. We are looking at it in supporting disease diagnosis, but I'll speak more to the diagnosis angle and the early disease detection. It has not just come, there are so many players out there globally that are already utilizing artificial intelligence in healthcare. And these are so many different companies, as well as researchers. And if we were to look at the different areas where artificial intelligence has been used and the players around those certain areas, and I think you see under the patient-facing tools, we already have AI chatbots. We have wearable devices and the different companies that are doing work around that. We are looking at personalized genetics and the researchers who are already undertaking that. In mental health, we can utilize it. Women's health, skin, but also in drug discovery. These days, artificial intelligence comes in handy to support drug discovery, information, and clinical trials, and that is all in the area of research. Also, it has been applied in information and clinical trials. In the genetics research, we are seeing work around that. But also where it gets to doctor-facing tools, we've looked at patient-facing tools where at the comfort of your home you can get some support through the AI chatbots, but also when it comes to the doctor-facing, we are looking at how are they interpreting the medical records, and these days artificial intelligence is also supporting in that area, and there are companies that have already come up with use cases around that. In data analytics, which is actually the general way of looking at medical data and what insights we can draw from there, there are so many companies again that have done that. Medical imaging, we have also built all. There are also companies that have done that, but also at hospital level, we are seeing work around that. So artificial intelligence is already revolutionizing healthcare in so many different ways and in so many different angles of healthcare. So it is becoming not just an emerging technology, but a support tool that is helping with almost every sphere of healthcare. So I want to speak back to ocular and why ocular, and I think that gets us back to why these diseases that we're going to be demonstrating, why them and why AI. So when you look at the diseases of interest here with talking about through the ocular project, we're looking at malaria, we're looking at cervical cancer, and we're looking at tuberculosis. And I think when it comes back to the sub-Saharan context, these are key public health concerns. Malaria currently is raising debates around its endemicity, cervical cancer, not only actually cervical cancer, but most of the cancers, even when it gets to Uganda, you see the burden that we already have. And also tuberculosis, those are some of the major public health concerns. And I think our motivation at the work that we're doing is motivated around what are those most pressing health challenges that we can tackle. So why those diseases and why the diagnosis angle? When you look at the ratio of lab tech to patient, especially in a Ugandan context, it is equated to 1 technician against 16,000 patients. So if you just suppose that statistic and then you put it on a roadmap of what WHO standards towards utilization of a microscope to diagnose these diseases. One, the microscope is the gold standard of what I would call a confirmatory test for malaria, but also for cervical cancer. For all types of cancers, actually. For cervical cancer, it is used as a screening tool, but also as a diagnosis tool. So if they want to assess the pap smear, that is at the screening phase, when you really want to know if someone is at a high likelihood of getting cervical cancer, again, you will use pap smears, which utilize a microscope. If you're to look at now to understand how much cancer someone has or what the level of infection that is, and also to confirm that someone has cervical cancer, we use what we call histopathology. And this is where you use biopsies to do the confirmation. Still, that process requires a microscope. We're having a conversation with some of our collaborators at the Uganda Institute, and they were telling us that Uganda doesn't have more than 30 pathologists. So if you to think about that, 30 pathologists for the entire country, and also when you to think about the lab techs, especially in the facilities given this ratio, and if also to look at the WHO guidelines, where a given lab technician is not required or is actually recommended not to screen more than 30 patients in a day. So if you go to especially the facilities in the remote parts where we have few experts, when you go to those facilities, in a day, is it likely that the malaria patients will be lower than 30 patients? So what they are actually forced to do is either to resort to easier modalities such as the RETs, or to treat by symptoms. But of course, we know the limitations of, say, for example, the modality that is highly used, which is the RET, that had no parasitemia, it is very less sensitive. And that's why we've seen scenarios where a patient goes to a facility and after a few days, when they were confirmed that they are negative, and after a few days they come back and you tell them that you have malaria. Because possibly the microscope, which is the confirmatory test, was never used. And we've both seen and gone through this similar experience where you've gone to facilities and these are the modalities. In some areas where patients are actually far from the facility or can't even afford a diagnosis, they resort to treating the disease by symptom. So either you're treating an infection or you're treating based on whatever you're seeing as a symptom that relates to the disease. To tuberculosis, most of the people that actually go for these tests, they go for them when the disease has already gone in direct condition, because sometimes at first earlier on it's treated like a cough, and by the time the patient gets to realize that they have TB, it has gone in a very critical stage. So what are we doing at the AI Health Lab? For us, we are combining the artificial intelligence technology, combine it with the microscope and a smartphone. And why? Proposition is, if you go to almost every healthy facility, public, there is at least a microscope on ground. At least up to healthy center posts, there is always a microscope. The limitation of using that microscope is that there are so many patients, yet the lab technicians that are on ground are usually very few. And then when it comes to the smartphone, and I think he talked about contextualizing as we're thinking about the development of these tools. Almost now, even in the sub-Saharan Africa, you can get a smartphone below $100. If you just suppose the impact of that at a healthy facility level, that where you're thinking about a smartphone less than $100, and then a microscope on ground. And then what we do is that we provide now an attachment, that the adapter that provides that attachment of the smartphone onto the eyes of the microscope. And I think you will see the prototype behind there. So that is plastic that we 3D print at the lab. And the idea is to have it as cheap as possible, not to put a cost overhead onto the facilities. We're costing that less than $10. So if you look at now the setup where we have the microscope, the smartphone, the adapter, and the microscope. So the other thing that we were advised, especially when interacting with the Ministry of Health, is that the systems they usually want are those that are integrating within the already existing healthcare systems, not to disrupt, but also not to cause an overhead in terms of costing. So our proposition also lied on the fact that microscopes are already utilized, microscopes are already in these facilities. And it also prompted us to understand, I think it went back to the guidelines that he gave, what is the environment, what are the standardizations around what is already being utilized. And so as part of sharing the experiences that we started off with different microscopes, but on mapping the landscape, we also talked about mapping the landscape. So mapping the landscape also required us to get to know what microscopes are used, especially in most of the public health facilities. And these are the organ pass microscopes. Of course, it goes back to modeling the environment in which these tools are going to be deployed and adapted. And so, as you see the setup currently, the smartphone, how it works is that the smartphone captures the image. The idea is to replicate what the microscope or the microscopic diagnosis of the disease does. There is this taking of the slide, because for diseases such as malaria, the parasites are within the blood. So that's why we need to have that blood sample. There is someone who told me, can't you do without taking blood?
That's my wish.
That's your wish. Unless they shift to another thing. But so it goes through that similar process where the slide is taken, the sample is taken, the slide is stained and put under the microscope, and so ocular comes in at the point of examination or at the point of analysis. And so right there you see we have this smartphone over here. I don't know whether your focus should be behind there, but you will see all that. So this image is captured, and then we utilize computer vision algorithms to understand the characteristics of, if we are interested in the malaria parasite, we train the model to understand the characteristics of the parasites. But in this particular example, we're looking at the level of infection. So the tool doesn't just stop at telling you that you have malaria, but it goes further to tell you the level of infection. And what this takes in scientifically is that it will understand how many parasites are in over 200 white blood cells. That's the WHO guideline. Those days, what it used to depend on is that the experts will just count a given number of parasites in the sample, and then they will tell you either you have malaria plus, malaria plus, or malaria, whichever level it is. But these days, they want the experts to actually count all the parasites after counting 200 white blood cells. So think about that for one patient. You're having a sample and you have to manually do the counting of those white blood cells. So the tool now replicates all that process and puts it into the application, and then in less than, Aloysius now is performing at what, 3 seconds? Less than just seconds to be able to come up with that count and quantification of parasite. And I think that is one of the critical tasks in malaria diagnosis, for example. For cancer, they have to look at all the features that communicate to a given malignancy. So sometimes there are over 20 features that they have to look at before a pathologist says that you have this level of cancer. So also that in itself is very time consuming, requires a lot of critical analysis, and we're seeing the application coming in to support on that. So we have developed that for 3 diseases, TB, cancer, and malaria. And the idea is we have, again, for contextualizing, like he said, we know that in Uganda we have a challenge of infrastructure. Some places don't have internet connectivity. I don't know where, I think there was a move by Minister of ICT to have internet connectivity all over the country. And I appreciate the efforts that government is taking to provide all those services. But still, we still have, I think, some limitations in some areas where internet is not yet available. But also when it gets to the other infrastructure which is needed, that is electricity. Again, we have rural electrification, but I don't know if we have actually now having countrywide electricity coverage. Do we? Yeah, we all, as much as we appreciate government to move those services, but still it may not necessarily be in Uganda, but it may be in another country that's similar, like ours, where this infrastructure is needed. One of the other critical aspects when you're developing is that infrastructure is one of the key movers for any innovations, especially if it's digital. So we moved, and I would want to share an experience. We moved to one facility, I think it was in Nakasi, and I think that day power had gone, was off, and these are light microscopes, and so they always need to be powered by electricity. But they had to be innovative to use torch. So you see all those infrastructure limitations. But much as that is what we anchoring on in terms of contextualizing is that at first we began with having the application fully online, but now we have an offline version, especially on smartphones. We started off with malaria, but quickly translating this to TB, cancer, and we want to have it roll out to almost all microscopically diagnosed diseases. How far have we gone? Accuracy is around 99. Then for cervical cancer, accuracy is around 94%. We are currently trained over 150 lab technicians. This was for one project, but currently we are, how many facilities? Over 30 facilities. Yes, all over the country. And so the idea is for us to gain evidence that will, and the end goal is for us to have this adapted within the healthcare services. We are collaborating with the Ministry of Health to support accessing the facilities, validating the tools, and for the final integration of these tools. Yeah, but I think I also want to share just a few things. Some of them I've already shared them in YouTube as I was speaking, but I understand, I don't know if the community I'm speaking to is which category? People might be interested in developing these technologies, even those who might be interested in utilizing them, but also to get to understand from our experience what that took and what some of the challenges that we underwent. So one of the key things I've talked about is infrastructure. Infrastructure is one critical aspect. And I think this one, I will not go further into it because of time. Then the bias. The bias where AI models are trained on data sets from, especially most of the developers I've seen, they say that I use the data set that I got from Cargo, and it's giving me this percentage, and right away they want to interpret that into our facilities. So when it comes to data sets, for example, recently I was having a conversation with someone from Ethiopia, and I was surprised that for them, the most popular malaria variant is the one that is called Makerere. In our context here in Uganda, the most common one is called Biospharum. But because now we have people coming in from different other areas coming to Uganda, we now are starting to see different variants. And I think that's where sometimes drug resistance cases come in, because people are known to only know one variant of malaria, which is Biospharum. So you treat it as if you're treating malaria instead of treating the Biospharum. So all that gets into, and if you're training, if you got a model, for example, from Ethiopia and you want to bring it here in Uganda, of course, there's going to be that variation. For cancers, there are also scenarios where, for example, breast cancer in sub-Saharan Africa is sometimes different from that in other countries. So the data components and how data is utilized should be given due considerations. And if it will go to diagnostic tools, must be validated. How many people here have worked on any tool in healthcare?
We only had during COVID the stages which something has to go through.
So for validation of healthcare is one of those sensitive domains. It has standardized. It has different standards that must be that someone must be able to follow. And so even if I'm to give you an ocular application right there, it needs to go back to the field to have expert validation. Actually, part of our team this week have been in the field. I wasn't even expecting Aloysius to be here because they have been in the East doing all these validations with experts. So validation is a critical part before you put all of this product to mass use, because it has to go through these tests and pass all those standards. And then we go back now to representation. How representative is your data? This, we want to look at it to prevent misdiagnosis. I was talking with some experts in Chirodu, and they were telling me that a malaria case or a slide of a child, the concentration of the parasites are totally different from a mature person, especially those below 5 years. If you look at a slide, there will be a lot of concentrations of these parasites around the slide. So if you just rely on that information to use it as a model to relate it to adults, you totally get some variations in the results or the outcomes. So as we think about especially development of tools in healthcare, one of the critical aspects should be, or asking ourselves, how representative is the data that we're utilizing, and which community or population is it answering? So you have to go through now that process of critical questioning around the population of interest, around the representativity. For example, if I'm to say that our models were trained on an iPhone 17, is it the latest? But then when you go to most of the facilities in Uganda, they cannot afford an iPhone 17. So how representatives are going to be contextual? So all those have to be questioned to make a representation. Interoperability and data fragmentation. So Ministry of Health has architectures that allow interoperability, but there are systems that still cannot talk to each other. For example, if you are staying in Mbale and your records were at Mbale Regional Referral Hospital, and then you come to Kampala, do those records follow you, or you have to provide new entries, your history? So those data fragmentations, for example, I want an AI tool that is able to predict, a case of a malaria when someone moves from this environment to this environment. But if we don't have systems talking to each other, actually at most of the rural facilities, the patients are given books. I don't know how much that data is digitized. So the information of a patient only remains between a patient and maybe the facility. And for cases which actually are progressive in nature, you'd want to have that history before you even recommend treatment. So because of that data fragmentation, sometimes you're not able to realize the impact of what these tools can actually do. But if we had such systems in place, then it will be very easy for me to make good use of AI tools. And it also allows better integration, because if I can be able to follow that information all through. So the fragmentation is at so many different layers. At public facilities, we already see that fragmentation. Though these days we have a tool called the DHRS tool, but even then, that only aggregates at which level? At weekly level and at monthly level. So sometimes by the time government gets to know that a patient has cancer, it's maybe after a month has passed. And for some very horrible cancers, that time is too long. You really want to make a decision in real time, or what we usually want to call near real time. One of the things that we previously faced, we still face it, but somehow we're getting better at it, was the trust, especially from clinicians. And I think that goes across now all the different domains. First of all, the reluctancy to integrate or to change. You'll find a person saying, I'm okay with my Excel, because they have been using it for quite some time. And that is understandable, because disruptions in technology usually take time for people to adapt. But for them, it's not just the adaptation to new technology, it's also the fear. And I think he talked about it when he said some people will lose jobs. When new technology comes in, there is that fear that people will always lose jobs. But how we really want to communicate the impact of these tools is not to create that fear. And I think WHO is working very well at that by always putting it clear to any kind of developer, especially around this field, that these tools are not, shouldn't be tools that are going to replace human oversight, but they should be tools that are going to augment human resource. So that where you've been taking over like 3 hours to just count those parasites, can you be able to slash that to seconds and then go on with another patient? Where patients have been flocking a facility for over hours, some of them actually for cancer, which is critical. Most of the patients have to drive all the way from their places to come to the Uganda Cancer Institute. But now if these facilities are brought near to them, that even when you don't have an expert to give the final say, we're already building on top of this, especially to replicate like the cancer board architecture, whereby if there is a difficult case, you relay it to the experts wherever they are. So through that telehealth platform, they are able to communicate, they are able to, relay kind of information that they want to get from the experts remotely and wherever they are. But at the end of the day, how do we tackle the aspects of skepticism around the tools? One, we trying to build what we call explainable artificial intelligence. And I think this goes back to 2016 when we were just beginning developments around the planning models where the model learns straight from the data and then it just gives you an output. The output is right, but for a person who doesn't know the mathematical background around the model, may not actually understand what the model is trying to do in between. Now, for a sensitive domain such as health, doctors needed to know at which points the model is taking the decision, at which points, what features is it looking at. So that explainability now is being inbuilt within that to show some transparency in reasoning around the models. But also the communication, we're trying to communicate, we're trying to involve, and that now requires, especially when you're building inclusivity, should be one of the core aspects. To build the trust for people who are going to use these tools, at the end of the day, you need them to participate. So we call it that the co-designing. You co-design with them, get with them on the table, you sit with them, and then they give you feedback, and you incorporate whatever feedback that is relevant within the development phases. And that's very critical because that's where trust begins with communication. And accountability. There is always a question, if any AI tool makes a wrong decision, who is responsible? I don't know if we have lawyers here. Who is responsible?
Yeah. No, those guys have very good, they protect themselves and their companies, like AI companies. They are not, it can make mistakes. That one they do. So at the end, whoever's adopted the technology is responsible.
So yes, it goes back to us, the developers, and I think that's the accountability bit. Is the, how do they call it in law? That liability.
Yeah.
The liability is put to the end user, they get disgusted. Sometimes the fear to use the tool now becomes more. So one of the things that has to be done is we want to have accountability done at every level, especially from the data you account and audit, what you call the auditing phase. You do the auditing right through the processes, but all this has to rely on a human in the loop, especially the expert, looking at the data critically. And what we have done in our tool is that we used to have single source data sets, but now we have multiple source data sets from different experts giving us. But at the tail end, there is always an expert, WHO certified expert, who should look at all this data and audit it and reconcile any biases that are within. And then use artificial intelligence to pick out any kinds of biases within that. Of course, much as they are experts, but we are humans and there is that subjectivity on us that what maybe I may see under the microscope sometimes may differ, even if it's with a small margin. In medicine, that is very critical. So you always need to build in those validation aspects as you develop. Now, when you go to regulatory and government frameworks, now with artificial intelligence models, just like technology, the way it moves, today you have an iPhone 17 this year, last year it was 16. It feels like every year there is a version that's coming up, and so is technology. Today you're looking at a model called YOLO. 5 years back, it was another different model. So there is always that dynamic change, which is actually very fast. Medicine has its own standards. The way you look at how medicine should be governed, there are standards, there are protocols to be followed. But now the bigger question to them is, now with this evolving technology that changes almost every year, we're going to change these regulations. For example, if we to regulate around the iPhone versions that keep coming, does it mean that every year we're going to have a new governance framework? And so that has been one of the limiting factors to adapt technologies in healthcare and ensuring that robust. Some of the concerns have been around privacy, security of the data, version changes, and dynamic. And so if you think about that, one, you have to localize the regulations. And one of the things that have been coming up is if WHO regulated, if EU has a regulation, why don't we just adapt? But then when it comes to contextualizing, the way artificial intelligence is going to be adapted in Uganda is going to be totally different from the way artificial intelligence is going to be adapted in the US. And that's for sure, because we have a different landscape in terms of infrastructure, in terms of all the aspects that we've talked about. So we can't generalize regulations. And we also don't want to regularize, even if it's within the Ugandan context, the variations that keep changing. The way, if we say right now we don't have all facilities having electricity and our regulation is based on that, if in 5 years now that changes, so do we still have to adopt that kind of regulation? So as much as there is that dynamic change, we're going to look at localized regulatory frameworks, but those frameworks should adopt to the existing environment. All right? So it could be that there could be like live documents, live regulations that will stand but keep changing. But at the top of our minds is that whatever regulation government needs to think about, it should be that is going to be localized and adaptable to the environment. And I think that's the voice we are speaking as we drafting the AI strategy for Uganda. Now, in terms of financing and sustainability, we're likely to have NSSF here. Probably by the end of the day, you'll have financing for all your prototypes. Is that a commitment? Right, yeah. But for people who have been in the development trenches, you know that these pieces of work require a lot of resources. Right away from the data that you're going to utilize, how you utilize it, to the development phase, to the computational resources, because for this, they don't require sometimes using your local machine. You need aspects of the GPUs. You need aspects of the cloud, and how much that is really requires a lot of resources. Even if you're doing just a little pilot or a little demonstration, there is a lot of resources that you're going to put into that process. And I think that is why for people who are in startup businesses, most of the businesses don't get to see their 50th birthday. And it's mainly around resources and sustainability challenges. And this is where we call upon public and private partnerships. Because in Uganda, we're still seeing the impacts, but to force that impact, we need evidence. We need a reasonable amount of resources that should be dedicated, not at individual level, but government coming up to support and private partnerships developed to get to see that innovations in this field at least put to a level where they can sustain themselves. So for us, the future, not to take long, future is for these tools is that we're looking at Ocular not just as a diagnostic tool, we're looking at it as one that is going to provide capacity building to the students who wish to pursue microscopy. We've already built an AI-powered teaching aid and we iterating it through the College of Health Sciences and the microbiology department. We believe that's going to disrupt the way microscopy, the way pathology is taught. We're looking at it in not just as a diagnostic tool, but one that is going to standardize surveillance. So literally how surveillance has been done is that facilities do get to record, for example, malaria cases in the books, file that record at weekly level, and then take it to the digitization phase, I think, at the district health offices. So they curate that information after a week or after a month. So the records in PHIS2 are not on a daily basis, but even when they are on a daily basis, they are not in near real time. Because if I want to know who has malaria at such a healthy facility and at such a time, okay, without aggregating it at such a day or such a week or such a month. So that is now like real-time feeds to track the outbreaks. And I think this can go out through most of the disease to be able to track diseases and provide meaningful insights. So we're looking at Ocular also being that tool that will definitely generate that diagnosis and seamlessly record it as a health record that can be risk mapped so that we know that malaria is here at such and such a time and in such and such a place. One of our limitations has always been how do we communicate the impact of Ocular. There was an interface where we had an engagement, and in our first iterations of conversation, we put what is AI. And some people, they thought it was actually artificial, how do they call it, insemination?
Yeah.
It's called what?
Artificial insemination.
Yes. So if people don't even just understand what that is, even when you tell someone what artificial intelligence is, to put it in a whole grained understanding of what that is and how it can impact them, sometimes becomes challenging. And so, if we to get people to utilize these tools, we should be cognizant about how do they perceive the tool, and that is through the way you communicate. Communication, as like I said, builds trust. So if you were to make people understand about Ocular, to translate the outcomes of Ocular to people, we had to think about how these are communicated. And when we have a diverse community, different languages, some people don't actually understand English, it's not our native. People have their own languages. So trying to build natural language-based tools to disseminate the tool. And this is especially for the end users, but also for the patients. So that once you get a record, we're already doing this with cancer, and we have a model that generates insights from the image, puts it into a report, and that report now can be translated into a local language that the patient now can understand their results in their local language, but they can also get information about the disease in their local language. For us, what we're talking about is that our next step is how we scale now this for equity, not only in Uganda, but across the different regions which are like us. And the idea is to think about partnerships and how this can be extended. Thank you very much. Now we shall go to the demo, and my colleagues over there will take you through, or if there are any questions before we go to the demo, that will also be great.
Okay, thank you. Dr. Rose.
Members online, do you have a question before we go into the demo?
You can actually scan the QR code to extend the conversation if you wish.
Okay, guys, you can scan the QR code. Please, let's give the Ocular team a round of applause.
No question. I think we can go to the demo. Let me see. There's a point of validation. Kindly clarify more about. Yeah. So you have a question online. There was a point of validation. Clarify about more or clarify it.
I think what I was talking about in the validation was most of the developers think that if I gain a 99%, for example, accuracy, my model is always the best. But in healthcare, there are always trade-offs. And the best trade-off is the one that the expert on ground will provide. So most of the developers are so encouraged to produce very accurate models in terms of the accuracy measure. But when it gets to the field, the accuracy measure can be on so many different fronts. Okay? If for example, I can give an example there. If the model has looked at a parasite and it has scored it, and I think it's the scoring, it has scored it at around 60%. And the threshold is around 50%, or let's look at 55%. If the experts look at what the model has produced as accuracy in terms of detection as 50%, 55%. But then the expert will utilize their expert knowledge to understand, okay, where does this patient come from, for example? What is the weather like? What is their clinical history like? So there is also that further clinical validation that will come in with the expert. But the validation I talked about here was on you generated the data, again from the experts, but at the tail end, we should run a quality check to understand whether the data that we're going to feed into the model is free of bias, is free of any missed out parasites, someone has not misannotated a given object, because all those need critical validation. And that validation needs, one, to put into consideration the expert in the loop to do that validation, but also to go further to create those quality checks on whatever data before you put it into the model. Now, the other validation will come in along when the algorithm is being developed, and that's where we get what we call the algorithmic bias. Usually what we are integrating these days is that we're integrating explainability so that at every phase of development, someone is able to see what and how the model is performing. But before you again confirm that, oh yes, the model has given me this level of accuracy, we need to go back with that value to the expert to validate it and confirm that indeed what the model is doing is what it is actually meant providing. So there are all those levels of validation, but they are all geared towards reducing bias.
Thank you.
I think we can now. You have a question? Yes, please.
Let's have it while you're there. Thank you.
Continue the video output.
Okay. No, hold it.
So in AI, there is now research that's called personalized medicine. And I think we have seen scenarios where we are all diagnosed with malaria. And if you take, what are the medications? We have Coartem, we have Lonat. Okay? We all take Lonat and we respond differently. So sometimes that goes back now to, you can utilize actually artificial intelligence to look at so many aspects, both the clinical, both the genetic, the way you feed, So all it can take in, the good thing with artificial intelligence is that it can take in so many pieces of information and make insights. Rather than relying on one source, artificial intelligence can actually rely on so many different sources to provide correct treatment. So for people who wish to go through that phase of artificial intelligence, which is called personalized medication or personalized treatment, there is also that other part of utilization of the AI. But also for some scenarios, for example, where we are, like I said, in some scenarios, you have a different variant of malaria and you're treating it differently. All the way you're treating it is that you've not checked the life stage. Okay? Low parasitemia and high parasitemia. These days, if you had low parasitemia, they will just give you or whatever and it stops at that. But the treatment now, if it is at high parasitemia, for example, they will even put injectables on top of the tablets. So, and that's why we're replicating that entire coastline of microscopy to understand which species caused the malaria, at what stage it is. For example, if I'm to talk about the stage which is called, we have two critical stages in malaria. One is called the gametocyte. The other is called the trophozoite. What you're seeing there will be the trophozoite. That's when someone is actually having malaria. But at the trophozoite, at the gametocyte stage, when a mosquito bites you and you have gametocyte, and then it goes to another person, that is now the spread phase. It's not at when someone has been confirmed, but at the gametocyte, that is when mosquitoes bite and then transfer. So it is very critical to understand also that it's for community policing of these diseases.
Thank you. So we'll come to the demo here. We go back. So this is the
You might need to speak up.
Yes. Okay.
Can you have one mic there? No, there's the wireless one.
Okay, so if we come here, we see application. Application can be installed from iOS or Android.
Adams, let's first of all have the questions here. Let's focus on this. Sorry, not the question. Let's have the demo, and then we shall have maybe that one-on-one interaction with or the team.
Okay, thank you. My name is Aloysius with Ocular, and I'm going to help with the demo. So here we have our application already installed onto the phone, but yeah, this application will be gotten from Android, iOS, or maybe directly to the lab techs, since it's just for the lab techs and for health services. So here, application is already installed. So if you click on our application here, malaria. So we have different diseases we're working on: cervical cancer, TB, and then malaria. So for this application, we're working with malaria. So we go to detections. We can say same slide or new slide. So it depends. If you switch slides, you can say new slide. But if it's the same slide on the deck, you can say same slide. So let's say new slide. So we have to name our slide here. So you name your slide, the lab tech will have to name the slide according to maybe the coding that is agreed on. So we can say if it's Mbarara, we can say MBA, MBA 001. And then we save our slide. So on saving our slides, yeah, so it brings the interface where we can take a picture. So we get to take a picture of what's being observed on the slide deck.
So specimen?
Yes?
Yeah, called specimen. In your language, medical.
Oh, okay. Yeah, so the specimen, the specimen in analysis. So we go on to save our picture. So when you save our picture here, so what a microscopist does, they keep on taking different fields of view so that they can have a spread out analysis, not on just one field of view, but so many fields of view. So we keep on taking. So then we save. So that's the second. So we have to change. Okay, keep on changing the field of view.
as you take pictures. So we changed, their microscope is changes the field of view, and then they take another picture. So when they take a picture here, so now they want to analyze. So we can go and analyze our slide or our specimen as preferred. So we go to analyze slide down here. So you can see 1 out of 4 analyzing images. So 2 out of 4 analyzing images. So all the images are analyzed, or fields of view, they're analyzed, and then we come here to get our what? Our reports, or our reports for each image. So these are 4 analyzed fields of view. So we go here to the first field of view, and here you will see some results. So these results here, we have the total white blood cells, which are 17, total tropozoites, which are 7, and then the time taken, which is less than 3 seconds. We have here 2.32. So that means the time taken to get a result from a slide which has been brought for just one field of view, we have 2.32 seconds, which is very magnificent, because the lab CIO microscopists normally take minutes analyzing this. So if we have this report here, so when it comes to lab tech, they can provide these results to a doctor, and they can know how to treat a patient basing on the dosage. So here we have 17.7. So they have coding, or they have grading for the disease. It can be +1, +2, +3. So +3 is the highest, which means someone is really badly off. So that's severe malaria. So they balance between the 17 and 7. So if you have 17 soldiers, which are the white blood cells, and 7 tropozoites, it means the tropozoites are outnumbering the what? The white blood cells. So that means it's a +2. You can put it between +2. So if it's a division of maybe let's say 17 by 7, 2 around there, so it's a +2. But if they were like 30, let's say 30 tropozoites and 10 white blood cells, that would be severe malaria, which is +3. So we normally have also no detections here, which means the person doesn't have what? Malaria. But if you see the bounding boxes and then you see the malaria, so that's severe malaria for the +3. So generally, this is our results, and this is what the microscopist needs to fasten their work or to make their work easy. So it's generally assistance, not replacement. As you see, the microscopist will operate fully, and then after, they'll approve the results they get. Yeah, so this is the adapter. It's biodegradable, so it's not plastic that is going to be harmful to the environment. It's a PLA material. And then this is our microscope, which you can find in each and every facility, health facility. Even health center tools, we found these microscopes by government. So generally, it's a plus. So this is complementary. The microscope, the phone, and the adapter, they complement each other to come up with a very scalable solution that is very significant. Thank you. Maybe Doctor, if you had something.
Unless there is a question, I think you've been.
At least for the presentation. Wonderful. Appreciate. Doctor, as you move on, if I had HIV and they also do malaria test, if you're false positive or you test it all right, or they are different. So we're good.
There are scenarios where we have the for infection, for example, for HIV and T.
Okay, thank you so much. Another clap for the ocular team. I think one big takeaway I take, they had a problem which they wanted to solve, and that's their why. And you can see all that, even as they talk about tech is not the big thing. It's actually enhancing, helping in the decision making. And it is about speed. You're seeing now health workers who do the clinical lab work are now able to analyze the specimens at real time, and someone is there and is given the right medication on time. I think I'm quite impressed. I hope that
They scale it up at a national level and we keep on improving the model until it reaches its perfection so that we can harness, most especially the cancer, which has now become something which we need to put our effort on. So thank you so much of the team. Let's have now our last presenter. The gentleman has been patient. One of the smartest people I know, both physically, mentally. You can see the way he's dressed on a Friday. Guys, let's welcome Nesta. Paul Nesta Katende. Yeah, I didn't show this. So you have your presentation here or you use your machine? Okay. But I needed it so that I can amplify for people. You on the roof? Yes. You will take over. You will do the work.
All right, good morning, everybody.
Morning.
Morning, my dear colleagues online. Morning, good morning, good morning. It's been quite a very engaging morning on AI. Yeah. It's a pleasure to be standing before you. I'm going to quickly do a demo of some of the things we have been doing, but I'm going to start by introducing myself a little bit so that we get to know what we do here and some of the exciting things we are doing within the private sector. A little bit about myself. My name is Nesta, Paul Katende. Katende is my name. First of all, I want to thank Jordan. Thank you so much for that presentation. You're amazing. Hopefully, I can also have a little bit of that presentation. You something very awesome for myself as well. So yes, my name is Nesta, and I'm privileged to be leading an organization called Otic. At Otic, we have been building agentic AI systems for banks and insurance companies. We don't just do banks and insurance companies. I think I'm a little bit biased because I have a banking background, doing banking for about 6 years as a senior data scientist, data analyst, bank, housing, and a bit about MTN. So, but we do agentic AI systems for the private sector holistically. That's under the Otic technologies. The other Otic group, we partner with, of course, the ministry as well, but also the United Nations Development Program. Currently, we're running a program in the north of the country where we're doing agentic AI training in the north of the country. And so far, I'm so privileged and humbled to say that we have trained about 5,000 secondary school students in Karamoja, in Acholi, in Lango. Right now, it's currently running. So that's another Otic foundation. It's a privilege to take AI stability. Literally, we're not just doing ICT training, we are literally teaching them how to use AI to develop websites, to develop applications, practicability of artificial intelligence. That's something we're very privileged to do. So Otic is just again in Uganda, but also in Kigali, in Rwanda, and also we have offices in the Westlands in Nairobi. So it's a privilege to be here. Thank you so much. I'm a Washington fellow as well. I did a bit of AI in corporate governance in Georgia State University, that is in the US. And for me, when it comes to artificial intelligence and it comes to the practicability of it, it's something I'm very passionate about. And I want to thank my seniors, mothers, doctor, thank you so much for leading the way and giving us a foundation for us to pick a leaf. For me, the Bible tells me that forget not the ancient landmarks. So thank you so much for leading the way. You really do great and honor you so much. As well as my senior colleague from NSSF was doing us a very wonderful presentation. So we just based on the presentation, I'm going to do a demo. I'm going to spend roughly not more than 30 minutes on everything that I'm doing. We developed the demo I'm going to do today is called a credit intelligence platform, which we have deployed in some of the banks, Housing Finance Bank, we have, and other banks that we're dealing with here in the nation. Number one, Otic is a Microsoft CSP partner. That's cloud solution provider partner and also ISP. That means that the agentic AI system we build are enterprise agentic systems. They are not for personal use. So most of our systems are deployed in the Microsoft marketplace, not on the Microsoft market, not on the Microsoft store. Okay. So the systems that they build integrate directly into core banking operations or any system that there is without actually exporting the data. So we do not take any data. So the organization has full data sovereignty over their their data. So that's something else we're going to explain a little bit. But I'm here to do the demo of this. Let me explain what this is. From my banking background, and again, I want to say that I think for me, when a person has pivoted in a particular direction, they easily enhance that more artificial intelligence because they understand their domain. They are not a generalist. AI is now everywhere. It's not for whether you did MBD, music, dance, and drama, bachelor's degree, and you got a CPP of 5, even 2. You can actually create a product and services regardless of your background. And I will shock you that my first undergraduate degree from Makerere University was community psychology. I didn't have a degree in computer science, I didn't have a degree in IT. You see, so the foundation of saying I need to have a software engineering degree to actually scale and build a business in this AI era, I don't believe in it because I don't have those qualifications in that regard. But I can tell you that we have scaled Otic now in East Africa. And I should say, I think Otic is the only organization that's building a GTI assistance to rapid support. I can say that realistically, I'm very humble to do that. So if someone doesn't have a background in computer science, or you need to have a background in computer science, you have a background in IT, it is well, right? You just have to have your domain and master your domain and see how AI integrates in that. Because AI is an industrial revolution. It's affecting every industry, every profession, every economy, and everything. Now, you see now this system that we built, in a nutshell, we understood that it's called the credit intelligence platform. When you go to the Microsoft Marketplace and you type in Microsoft Marketplace, not Microsoft Store, the Microsoft Marketplace, you will see our applications. We have built the insurance intelligence platform for insurance companies. We have been engaged in quite a number of them, for banking, for manufacturers. These are enterprise-grade agentic systems. I emphasize these are not your normal vibe coding systems like on your phone. Yes, this is another level. Now, so when you go to the Microsoft Marketplace, you can see, you type in Otic group, you see our systems already built security grade tight by Microsoft. And I'll explain why we use Microsoft. Okay? And our next level for Microsoft. But feel that you can open. Yeah. So when you go to Otic, you can see most of our systems are there. Yeah. Okay. So let me explain this quickly. We want to understand the core versions of banking, and like I said, you need to understand your domain. What's your field? Mine was banking and finance, and when it came to AI, it was easy for me to understand the mind, because if you don't understand the user and you're just technical, you will not solve the problem. At the end of the day, you must solve a problem. You must provide value. There should be return on investment. And I want to thank my elder who shared in the morning that you need to understand how the board thinks, how the committee, the SMT thinks. So that when you develop a product, it's not just a software product, it's not just a bunch of line code. Because people don't eat code, people don't eat Python, they want results, you understand? So when we got into the banking space, I'm like, okay, what is the core value position of banking? What is the customer of banking? Credit. So how can agentic AI automate, but also how can I create a new product from the credit line? I'm talking of circles, I'm talking banks, I'm talking anything, fintechs, I'm talking of credit. So we develop, and so you see those some of our products, all right, on the Microsoft Marketplace. These are not on the store. Microsoft Store, those are apps for your use. These integrate directly in enterprise systems. Okay. All right, let's go back to that very fast. So then you get me a demo. So what we did, we went to understood the banking credit. Like I said, I have banking. I've done front office, back office. I've done banking end to end. I love banking. And then from that mindset and experience, we build a product. Now, when you go to this, very simple. I'm not going to go through the whole slide, and maybe he will move those. Just move those quickly. Was that most systems in banks do not intelligently interact with customers, right? You have a loan-oriented operating system that handles core credit functions. It does your credit risk analysis. It does your credit memos, but it does not have a front-end interface. For example, when it comes to credit, I want to be able to get an instant loan through WhatsApp. Very fast, I chat with someone, I get a loan. I don't want to have a guarantor, right? So we're like, okay, I want to go to your website, be a bank or circle, and I get a loan in 1 minute or 2. Right? I want the loan to come to me in the environment I understand. Whether it is Instagram, I should be able to get a loan from Instagram. I should be able to get a loan in WhatsApp, I should be able to get a loan in Telegram. Right? So What we did was, it's very simple. Our value proposition was, can we develop a system that does both the core operations of a bank or SACCO, credit analysis, reports, and all that. AI can do those internal things, right? But connect this system to the ADCs, the alternative channels of a banking institution. But also at the same time, if I can be able to give the bank leads, not only from credit scoring, look read and all that, or CRB, I want to also be able to score this customer based again on their social media profile. What you post can actually determine how much I can give you. You can be a high risk person or a low risk person by what you post. And again, the AI models can give you that analysis. So we integrated this system with the CRB. We have some integrations on there. We integrated it with Meta APIs. We have integrated the whole social media ecosystem. And that's what I want to explain to you. So it does both new to bank or new to customer. So if a SACCO wants a new customer, right, they can get them through WhatsApp. Even if that customer is not a SACCO member, if a bank wants a customer, they can disburse a loan if it's among their parameters, even if that customer is not among their customers. Aside from just giving loans to customers which are within their ecosystem. So it's both new to bank and existing customers. New to SACCO and existing customers. And that's all the power of artificial intelligence in there. Right? So that's the value proposition. New to bank and new customers in there. So what we did is very simple. So we built this system already here, and then we integrated. So we're integrating with different ADCs of the institution, and then it connects to the core banking. And now, this part of connect to the core banking, it does not necessarily connect to the core banking. And this is the first thing we have to solve. How to build an agentic system that integrates with a regulated financial institution that's regulated by Bank of Uganda. And so the question is very simple. Define an architecture that does not allow the data of that institution to leave that institution. And very simple. Some of these systems that are using Microsoft have what they call confidential computing ledgers or confidential computing VMs. Data is encrypted both at rest, you have your physical server, it is encrypted in transit, but it's encrypted in use. That means if you understand the core architecture, you can actually build an agentic AI system, and the AI models do not actually have access to that data. That's what they call confidential computing VMs or confidential computing ledgers. Even before you go to bring in physical GPUs and import them in the country, these are capabilities that are available right now. You don't need to action, at least for the start. So that's the thing we cracked. That's how we're able to build within an institution, which is regulated by Bank of Uganda, because their data does not leave their sovereign environment, yet it's a fully functional agentic AI system. Obviously, we put different encryption layers above it. So, and that's the nice thing I don't want to explain to right now, but it's always approved batch jobs in there from their systems. It goes all through, creates a data warehouse with their system. The agentic AI system is simply an intelligence layer that does not look into the sovereign data of that institution, right? It's all in an enclave. Don't want to be so tricky. But that's basically it. But because I'm doing a demo today. So let's move to the demo very fast, then I move on. Let's go to the demo. So this is a system. So it means that whether you're in Africa, whether you can actually build a functional AI system. And I thank God for a CIO-CxO forum, because now it's encouraging homegrown solutions. But sometimes it's supposed to be building from here. And you don't need to have any funding to do it. We don't have any funding from anyone to build this system. We have grown the Otic 5 years, grown from scratch, and have made money from it. So there's no excuse. We're not waiting for any policy, we're not waiting for anyone, we're moving forward. So I'm bed. Yes, absolutely. Now, this other system looks like very simple, as you can see. So now we created a good dashboard here. Now, when you look at this dashboard, ladies and gentlemen, I believe that most intelligent dashboards are coming in the future are going to be intelligent. They're going to be personal. You should be able to speak to them. As opposed to building a SaaS system which is static, we said, no, let's not waste time and think overthinking. Let's just build it the way ChatGPT is. As simple as that. So this is a system that the institution simply downloads. Of course, we help handhold the institution to integrate, because there's some integration there, integration to your systems, integrations to your ADCs, delivery channels, and your whatever channels. So we do some bit of handholding for the institution to integrate. But after the integration, it takes about 3 days. Okay, this is how it looks like. It's a fully fledged dashboard, as you can see. Now, here, for example, in the central window here, it's literally a chart. right? So yeah, you can say, for example, what's my credit portfolio as of in Kabalet branch as yesterday? What is my credit portfolio in Karamoja? What is my? You simply on a hands go. You can know your policy checks. You can have your risk insights. You can have your credit summary. You can have your portfolio health as a bank on the go. There is no system that has that. There's no bank that has such a system right now. That's intelligent. It's a loan agency system, credit system, but also it's intelligent. You can know what's happening in them, depending again on your batch up the data that you approved to go into your data warehouse which you created, which is a Microsoft Fabric, or your Azure Blob. Okay, that's also technical whatever. Now let's go. So what's my credit portfolio? Here you can even specify from each branch, from which person, which loan officer, which risk manager. This is the chat interface. That's what that for. Now remember, of course, we put security cyber security algorithms say you can't just upload anything, you can't upload a newspaper. But also let me tell you something, when you're building an enterprise-based system, I know everybody knows you're building an enterprise-based an AI agent you just collected. No, here when we're integrating, we also integrate with the policies of the bank, the policies of the institution. So the agent does not move out of the policies. At the point of integration, it's not just integrate with data. No, we integrate with data and the policies. So the institution should give us the policies and guidelines by which this algorithm should flow, so that it cannot be prompt injected. It's prompt hardened. You cannot tweak it. Like give me all the salaries of the employees. So the place of integration there, when we hold it, we say, okay, give us the approved policies of one institution with particular statement. So we integrate with the policies and then integrate with the data. So it's not just connect to data. Number two, so on the left here, you have your dashboard. Sorry, on the right, you have your dashboard, high level, your top priorities, your risk. Basically, it's managing your whole loan portfolio. On the right, on the left here, as you can see, all these are actually agents. So I should say the system is a multi-agent system. It's a connection of about 25 agents that we built. Okay, that are interconnected. Now, number one, the first value proposition is customer growth and acquisition. Well, like, okay, yes, it can do all these things, but can it acquire customers? So number one here, you can see this acquisition dashboard. Acquisition dashboard, a loan office of a chief credit officer is able to monitor how many people went on WhatsApp, on the website, on the mobile application, what did they do there, what loan products they ask for, what loans did they ask for. They're able to monitor all channels in real time. If you have connected to WhatsApp, you've connected to your mobile application, you have connected to your website. You're able to have a full-time, of your channel that you created. Now, channel intelligence. With this basically here, you want to extend loans to your people, right? You want to give credit. You want to do financial inclusion. Where do you develop another sophisticated mobile application? It's not going to work now. The agentic care system is personalizing. I have a feeling, I don't know, I stand to be corrected in a second. Like one day, Microsoft will give those people. All these AIs that are now penetrating and getting all out, and one day they'll be able to disburse those people. I don't know what that's mean. I stand to be corrected. The kind of data they are correct. One day they apply for 20,000. I don't know. I will just feel.
They already give credit.
They give credit.
Yes. Like they already give credit, like lending you credits to use flood. And
now there
are some that are testing it in some markets.
Do you feel like at a particular point they'll transition to money? I don't know.
Like already you can borrow credit, think.
You can borrow
it, so you can now soon you're going to have it. Like the website about lending, like if possible, but now they are lending people credits to use their platform.
That is true, because if you're lending you $5,000 of credit,
it's money.
It's money.
It's money. Yeah. That's value.
That's value. Now that's this one. So very fast. Channel intelligence. So here you also have your lead customers. You're able to see which customer went on my WhatsApp, what they ask for. This maybe someone does. So what basically is that a customer goes on WhatsApp, says, I want 500,000 of a loan. The agentic AI system there in the WhatsApp, right, is able to ask you some questions. Okay, give me your phone number. It sends you an OTP on your phone. You give me that OTP, send it on your phone, you put it in the phone. It asks for your national ID and all that stuff. Now, if it's within the credit risk appetite of the bank, that's an automatic disbursal. You will get that's like mobile money. Now, through this WhatsApp. If it is not, it will escalate to an RM or relationship manager to do that appraisal. If it's within that credit bucket and risk, immediately multiplicator, because we have connected not only different CRBs and what and APIs, it's able to do that. Those are some of our models, the data AI models that we built. Okay, so now here you're able to monitor all that. Lead customers, scroll down, you're able to see your lead tickets, all through, you're able to see, it's able to do lead scoring to the RM. So it escalates only people who are going to, it escalates leads to customers, to the RM. Now remember, it's an Microsoft Azure based, not a Microsoft Azure based, but it has all that. So it's connected to Outlook and email. So some RMs or some officers or creative officers have access to this dashboard, others will have access to their emails. So either it does automatic dispatch or escalates leads to customers via email. Like this person, this name, this whatever is going to once this money can reach out to them because they reach out to you like a normal person on the website, on the mobile application, or the WhatsApp, depending on the indices you give. If you have tablets in the bank branch, depending. So we are saying that we are taking the bank or the institution into the normal life of a person. So if you want to reach out to Gen Zs, we need to develop agentic AI systems that fit in the ecosystem of the current, not build another sophisticated app. I don't believe that is going to happen. I feel like apps are about to be disrupted in a way. I don't know. Because this thing is serious. I start to be corrected, I say. So yeah, move down as I finish 5 minutes. So let's go down to now the core project. So that all these agentic AI systems, now the first one, which is the customer acquisition, is for customer facing. Then we build agentic AI systems for internal. So for internal here, you have the borrower intelligence. The agentic AI system is able to tell you, for example, what borrower details are available, what borrower exposure and repayment risk stand out, what collector and document content is available. We're able to see high risk borrowers, low risk borrowers. It gives you a full end-to-end of everybody that has borrowed money from you. Credit risk intelligence, you're able to know which one will not pay, which one will pay, how do I approach them, go down. Risk scores, it does that. It does credit risk, credit scoring as well in that regard. One of the things we added on is psychometric intelligence as well. Like I said, so we're able to know if you combine their transactions plus the social media profile and answer some few questions, the agent asks you some. For example, if I ask you, for example, if I give you 10,000, if I give 100,000 shillings to go to Mbarara, from here to Mbarara, and you're carrying 10 people, what will you do? Someone will tell you, I'll find my means, I'll squeeze in the budget. Another will tell you, I'll look for borrow for more money. I'll look for money to add on 50,000 to go to Mbarara. The one who looks for more money is high risk. The one who fits in his budget is low risk. So able to also praise them on that level. All right, go. Credit memos are very important, especially to the board. This is something we do as well. Reports and insights. Now, reports and insights here, the institution can have its own reports, just upload its own reports, okay? Or it can create reports using AI, credit risk portfolio, and NLP, non-performing loans reports. All those reports are created and escalated in real time through the email integrations. Now, and it uses Microsoft Power BI. So it puts Power BI on steroids. So it gives Power BI more power because it's connected directly to your Outlook, your Excel, your all that. So you can see it can either download, you can schedule reports in real time from what time to what time. You see, all that is inside the report generation. Lastly, just scroll down for me. Go down for me. Yeah. There's a lot there. I cannot go into this scoring. It's a lot. Maybe go to integrations. It's going to be the last one. Then you have questions. Integrations and settings down there. Go to integration setting for me. Integrations and settings. Integrations. Oh yeah. Yeah. So in integration and settings, like I said, you can integrate data sources. You can integrate customer channels. You can integrate. There's also security and access. There's role-based access, trade and retention. We usually handhold, but also provide documentation when you go to another customer facing provide documentation. Something I've realized that if you want to scale an organization, provide as much documentation. I don't think you always have to call customer care of Microsoft to ask them how to use Microsoft. Well, I don't think they even ever pick your calls. It's an AI system that calls you, that speaks to you. So sometimes you want to scale and get systems and structures. So but we provide documentation that. So in a nutshell, ladies and gentlemen, this system is already deployed live in production with some institutions, and we're very humble. We are now scaling into circles as well. because we realize that AI is a personal, it must solve challenges, it must give financial inclusion to people, it must bring, it must change lives. So my heart is that we can innovate around some of these things for us too. What we're doing going forward is that we are now partnering with NVIDIA, and we are now looking at getting these same workloads, the same workloads onto physical GPUs into the country in the next 2 months. So that now you can own. But even if you go there, this is already within your, you don't lose data. It's within your sovereign environment and it's regulated. You see, so there's no data breach at any time. We do. Otic does not keep any data, we don't see any of your data, any of the sensitive data. So I believe that, and I want to thank the CIO-CxO for the opportunity. Thank you so much for supporting some of us, for giving us an ear. Thank you so much, Mr. Gideon. It's a pleasure. And the whole committee for the AI work group. It's a pleasure, and we're very good to serve and grow. Thank you so much for believing in this vision. This is something we've done, and we will try to now push as much as possible to step on as many financial institutions as we can. Thank you so much. I don't know if there are any questions. I ask questions for maybe 2 minutes, and then my senior told me that I give some time for questions, and then we move. Hand out here. Absolutely. Yes, it is. You still have a question.
The question I have is, your application is for information about social media and blah, blah, blah.
Yes.
So that involves, of course, PII information. So someone out there will in fact my online presence. We'll have a submission there.
Yes.
But in terms in the perspective of compliance, regulatory requirements of the country, what are the frameworks that you have? And what are the compliance standards that you have? The applications that are based on, so that you can have to go to banks and then the yes. Are there any data protection framework that you're using?
Yes.
After you implemented?
Yes.
To give someone confidence that I might be actually give access to my personal, apps and what. I have the confidence that this application is trying to do what it does and don't risk, because with AI we have now an influx of AI.
Yeah.
From GPT virus in the AI world.
Yeah.
Because if it's adapt and then there is no way that information is not secure.
Yes.
Then
absolutely. Yes, when it comes to security, I think when it comes to enterprises, before even talk about AI comes to security, about something we want to call information security, really to make sure it doesn't work if it's not security. So when the agentic AI system is interrupted, now remember it's not a WhatsApp chatbot. It's an agentic AI system that just uses WhatsApp as an interface. There's a big difference in that. So very big. Very big. Now, for example, let me get started from the basics for the customer care. It will always ask for it will send you, it will say, give me your telephone number. Okay, when you ask you for the logo. Then it will send an OTP from the number you have given it on WhatsApp or the chat. Then you put that OTP in the chat. Okay. But also it will ask you, talk to you normally, you have to consent. It's not going to do anything without your consent. So we have put all those guardrails to consent. It's a normal conversation. Imagine talking to an RA, like a physical person. Okay? To send, give me your number, sends an OTP, you can consent, and you whatever, you consent even as we're speaking to it, you consent. Okay? So by the time it goes into your CRB and it goes into your mobile application, we have a full audit trail of your consent for us to be able to pick that information from your social media platforms. So we ask you for your Twitter and what, and people will do it. The models will do all that validation. But we try to make sure that when it comes to IT audit, even AI audit, what I didn't talk about here, that we have built an AI in the system, we have what we call Fortress. Fortress is the agentic AI system that audits the AI. Why did you make that decision? When? Why? When? Who prompted you? We have all that. So even if it comes to banks, we're able to say that you can actually have an AI audit trail report within AI audit. So you are able to have visibility on every action. It's not a black box anymore. To the customer, we have that auditory. We gave it you typed your phone number in the chat, whether it's on WhatsApp or whatever, it sends you an OTP, you got it, you put it in there. It says, give me your ID, you got it, you put it there, it talks to you, consent me, you say yes, then it takes on. But also when it comes to direct integration, like I said, the architect is very clear to any manager infrastructure in any organization. We do not have any data, we do not keep data of any organization. It's all within your tenant. The warehouse is in your tenant, the database is in your tenant. The agentic AI system is simply an intelligence layer that sits on it, does not look into your enclave, right? So we first do a thorough cybersecurity information security report action for you to be rest assured that we never touch it. So we don't keep any data of customers at any in any way. But also to take it deeper, like I said, we are getting these workloads. Because the problem with importing GPUs here, that you're going to import GPUs with no workloads, it becomes now just a thing you look at, do small little things. Have products that, as in, what we're trying to do is that we're trying to prove demand. Now that we have a partnership in NVIDIA, we're trying to prove demand that actually, no, we have deployed this in the private sector. Let's have that FGX 4600 or 4700. Get this same workload and put it on GPU. So you give a bank the whole GPU and six there for you to use. Even because someone can say, oh, Microsoft. So yeah, I think that we really do that check in that regard. Maybe one question then. Is that question?
I think it's
Online.
Checking. We have 46 people. People asking for your presentation. Some people are saying it is clear that citizens need to consent with their PII processed by AI or email. So people asking for your presentation. I don't know what you've done, but yeah, I think it's done.
Yeah. Thank you so much. There is one burning question. I'll ask you 1 minute.
Okay, it's not a burning question, but just an inquiry.
Yes, please.
In case of downtime,
Downtime, yes.
Yeah, and do you have a feedback loop?
Yes, we do. We do. And actually, the aspect is very beautiful because now, remember, the system does not sit on your core person, it does sit on your data. When you're integrating, it will create a fabric in your tenant.
Yeah, sure.
Or what they call an Azure block. So it's an indirect connection. So in case of the downtime you're in your system, this continues running. But you also get that aspect. It's clear. But we have a feedback loop on that as well. So thank you so much, Mr. Gideon. It's a pleasure, it's an honor. Thank you so much for the invitation. And thank you, CIO-CxO, for inviting me and for believing in homegrown solutions. Thank you so much.
Okay. I'll take 5 minutes. Thank you very much. The online audience has a lot of vibe. There are over 50 people there just chilling and enjoying the presentation. But we like meeting physically because we like to network. And Dr. Rose, I am a huge admirer of your work. I was supervised by Dr. Joyce Navende and Mariette Katarawede for my master's. I need malware prediction, I created a sandbox to coordinate data. And I still want to come back to Makerere soon because I feel like I want to come back to school. And Dr. Rose, I want to ask you for coffee officially before the world. I want to ask you for coffee. Ask you for coffee so that you see, like, we want to create an AI council, and for me, that's my output of this meeting. We must create an AI council, and the letter is on Kezia's step by step. I drafted it yesterday because you have very many AI task forces, but at the end of the year, you say, okay, what have we manufactured? Because you see, we can't discuss this when we're dealing with a population that is totally offline, and we want that data. We want it from telecoms. We want that data from telecoms. They must give us that data so that we can build more solutions. Because imagine like this solution that Dr. Rose has, if we're able to add like all the power of telecom data they have, and maybe we see how do we create more value for diagnostics. So we're going to create an AI council. A letter has been dispatched to the ministry, and we hope that it's listened to. At least for private sector. Because we don't need to wait for policy. We'll have our own governance criteria. But we want to thank all IT officers from Kagadi, from everywhere attending this, today the forum is having we are having something with global intellectual property index something GII conference symposium is happening at 4 points. I was there yesterday. It's also happening there today. I'll just run you through what we've done this month. Next slide. This month we have had. Okay, yeah, we've done a lot of things. Next slide. Yes, I think we've done a lot. Next slide. Yeah, we've done a lot of position papers. We've done a position paper on gender. Next slide. We've done a position paper on innovation. We've done a position paper on interoperability. We have a lot with that. But this is what we have achieved. We had an MOU which is being done with Good University with us as a forum. It was handled at NITAU before. Before this, the previous one. We had a meeting with Guru University, we're in the news. We had a meeting with Minister of ICT to reform our partnership. And we came here and presented our position paper on gender gap, where we are showing the disparities in the IT sector and how we want to create a CIO women circle. That will be the ministry's lobbying point for all the interventions that are happening in gender, if it's regarding the IT sector. The IT sector, we have done research among organizations, the IT departments have 1 woman out of 10 men. Yeah, most departments. For you at NSF, you have 50-50. It's not. At NSF, it's 50-50, but in our organizations, women have been limited reception work, they have been to non-technical work. I have seen ladies who did computer science becoming now PR people, digital marketeers. And why? Because of the jobs they're being given. So we have a good position paper. So the ministry, we're going to create a very good lobbying unit for women. We are already running, next slide, the Tech Challenge program. Even this month it's running again. We're meeting students online and graduates. We had a meeting with Ghana Bankers Association. We had CIO Africa. We have partnered with them. We have put on our social media platforms. Submit your projects if you want to be recognized on the African Speak stage. We're also in partnership with CIO-200. That is the global CIO. We are partnering with the global CIO. We're now their local channel partners. So regarding Uganda, global CIO, CIO Africa, we are soon having signed documents, but we're already partnering with them. So soon you're going to see information come from the global CIO. There are some projects they want us to submit. We want to see Ugandan projects on the global stage. And this also has an input on the GII ranking of Uganda. Uganda is ranked currently 124th out of 139 economies in the IP ranking globally. But why? Why is that? Why for ranks us in the intellectual property we are ranked lower? Such engagements help to rank us higher. Having this document filed, having these things documented is very good. We've been profiling CIOs, find some top CIOs in the economy. We are pulse checking to know if we profile CIOs, what does that mean? CIOs also deserve a voice. We need some quick check with the CEO magazine. We have been running the Tech Challenge program, as I said. We've published a report on budget findings. We had held consultations on budget for the IT sector, which is always reducing every year. Yet now we have to create jobs. If government wants to create jobs, we are a sole sector. So we have submitted the report. We have also engaged Ministry of Finance. My ask to the council, they unlock a meeting with the Ministry of Finance because we need that. Also, we're asking members to give us their input in the position paper. We want to thank the Ministry of ICT for reaffirming our partnership. We have also, we visited Robert Mutebi of URA this month, who sends his greetings, and his team is online. And URA is one of our first members to the forum, and we want to invite more organizations. Please send your local government departments. I've been talking to Herbert, DTB. DTB should become a member. All banks, all entities, we're welcoming them. Next slide. Yeah, these are key things we've done. As I said earlier, we presented a position paper on behalf of the permanent secretary. On 4th of August, we're meeting women at Piato Restaurant. They are setting their agenda as a program for the CIO Women Circle. They're going to set their agenda and they're very much excited, by the way. It's going to be one of those most successful programs. Our interest is to create a lobbying group. Let them make asks for market linkages, for certifications, for scholarships. We should be meeting Dr. Olsen, do you have AI scholarships nearby? And she can give them to us. And she can tell us there are scholarships available and which people can utilize. So we want to make sure people can get access to opportunity. But also want to lobby for over millions of Ugandans. What solution can be in technology that can help women to report gender-based violence? Or how do we accelerate Uganda policies in interventions on gender-based violence to all the rural women? But it's through the small circle of women to request the council to unlock some sessions very well for them. So yeah, next slide. They were in the news also. So we have a packed calendar. And like as I said, we have a digital transformation and e-government awards I'll talk about briefly. We visited the cybersecurity department of UCC. They have a UGSAT team and we had a networking with them. They have a conference happening in a few days from now. Please register. You'll attend for free. If you want tickets, please reach out to us. We want that you help strengthen our position on taxation and also our position on the IT sector budget prioritization before the Ministry of Finance starts releasing the budget framework papers. And unless we do this now, you shall not mourn next year that your departments have been cut for departments as government. Actually, government staff should be the ones enthusiastic and spoke, not the private sector. However, we want CIOs to own some things. One is the awards. The awards, we want you to vet the categories we have, review them, and make sure that as IT leaders, these categories are very fine. We don't release categories, and they tell us that they were not good enough. We need to include institutions, we need to include AI people. We have the categories accessible if you ask us. Then we have a position paper that we've already engaged MTN and others to support us to make sure they strengthen the paper. CIO Africa, as I told you next, we also have something regarding global CIO coming very soon. And we want to have one agenda. That's what I propose to them. Let's have one agenda. Also, I want to create an African agenda of global CIO. They have their European English. We want to create our own Pan-African global CIO of sorts, so that you and the colleagues and the people can guide. We can engage other economies and we create our own agenda for the CIO, IT leadership, digital leadership. What is that? What is that tone? What should we achieve in the whole year? What should we focus on? You can share that slide just that I want to remember. So we have been in the kitchen cooking. As you know, we always cook. So this is what we're coming with. Ladies and gentlemen, I want to present to you on 10th of this month, we're inviting you to Uganda Media Center. We're going to have a press conference and letters have been dispatched mostly to your MDAs. They'll be with you very soon and they're going to come from the National IT Authority. Next slide. We are having the digital transformation and e-government awards. You'll not clap, but they have been running over the years. Next slide. These are some of the categories. We shall have zones. We shall have government services village. We shall have AI business solution clinics. We shall want Otic and other partners and doctorals and others. Can we train people how to use AI in a village? So we shall go in districts. We shall have regions. We shall visit. We also have Kororo Independence Grounds where we shall be. That's our venue, by the way. It shall be a 3-day event at Kororo Independence Grounds. Let the people come and learn how to use AI. We shall engage everyone to learn how to use digital solutions. We shall bring NSF kindly. Nita is writing to you a letter. Ask NSF to come and people should use e-government services, but also learn how to use technology. Let them ask questions bluntly in your tent. Businesses should come, like SMEs, they need to know how to grow their businesses. So they need to come and learn. Enterprise solutions that Nesta and the team have and other organizations. We want to showcase innovation, a culture village, and a tourism experience. That's why our packages for sponsorship are even named according to Ndovu. Not Ndovu, sorry, we are using Uganda names. Like Weaverbird, we have different names of crested crane. Next slide. So these are categories. We have overall excellence, digital government institutions and all. We have citizen service and public value. We have a cluster for technology and innovation. We have a cluster for private sector excellence. We have a cluster for leadership and individual. We have a cluster for sector-specific innovations. Some of these nominations will not be done publicly, but nominations, people submit their projects, but then we work with PwC to double check. We usually show that they have these projects where they're selected the impact they say they have. But then we have some voting, public voting slots that we shall have to be voted for public. And that's like citizen choice and Mangada. So at Kororo Independence Grounds, we shall invite the president The fountain of honor is going to be there. All government staff shall attend for free. Members of the forum are attending for free. We hope to have the entire ICT constituency of over 2,000 people in one place, and we listen to the president. A black tie event. I don't know what the ladies will wear, but it's a black tie event. I don't think I wear all black. I don't know. But it shall be guided. So we will have a very big tent for that. Day one, we shall have symposiums and demos, different villages. You know, we shall have day two as well. We shall also take the Tech Challenge program is going in the regions. It's also coming for independence grounds. So what I'm talking about is going to be in the regions. But one day in the regions shall be in Gulu, shall be in Bali and Barara. Then the last one is the grand finale, where we shall have 2,000 delegates coming together from all local governments, from all, let them just come together and we just meet the president also. The entire ICT constituency. These awards, we request that we participate. Now, this is not what I can do alone. I want some 10 people to handle the awards alone. Because, yes, we're implementation partners with NITAU. We're sending an MOU soon to your temple, sir, and the team, the council to review. But this is a launch for. So next week, we're having a press conference. After that, we're going to start going to the regions. It's going to be a very, very, very serious run and a very big race, but I'm requesting that you participate because digital leadership should take the center stage of this nation. My role is just simply thank you and request that you are patient with us today. We arrived late, and I'm sorry, doctor, for not me keeping time. This is not me, but I also gave a bad treatment last year, so that's why I did coffee, doctor. But thank you very much, everyone. We invite Makerere to come with us in the regions, including Independence Grounds and Otic AI and other organizations, minus EDSF because it has come as the top sponsor. But thank you very much, everyone. We talk soon. Just follow our social media, check the communications we do, see what you want to participate in, reach out to the secretariat. Thank you very much. Have a good day. We still have breakfast available. Yeah. Bye. Awards. Are you ready?